I got paper in the duffel, you got problems, I can tell. Hope my coffin come with stuff with dope and double C Chanel. I got 7-figure sales, you got tied up, then you fail. I listen your one don't wear unless your years spent on grill. Your whole crew gon' die, my whole crew gon' fly. I wish you well, wish that you would try. One against the ply, just ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell. So much paper on the bitch, they don't think I'll check your mail. Get it high, smoke it till I leave. Push up on me, poke that 9, watch me bowl it feed. I think I'm late, I'm checking that time. Private driver, parking out front, wanting that paper to stand in line. Step it off, let him outside, backseat riding, right with stars. I got paper in this duffel, you got problems, I can tell. Hope my coffin come with stuff with dope and double C Chanel. I got 7-figure sales, you got tied up, then you fail. I listen your one don't wear unless your years is spent on grill.
I cannot stand a motherfucker running up on me. I get it quickly, we setting so my family. Doom shot killer standing on the silly set you hurt. Bullets like a bird, they flying through your fucking church. I wonder why you're crying, steady hating, steady lying. You said you love but use your pussy, now your ass is frying. I'm loaded up, I'm steady aiming at you fucking bitches. I swear I love these switches, pull the trigger, rest in pieces. I walk the walk, I talk the talk, and now we'll prove it to ya. I'm 289, I'm 186, the fatty make you big. I done a lot of shit to make it rap, I got like this. Dug my way up from the dirt and now the fatty's pissed. You run around, you hit the ground and now you're bleeding, baby. I cannot give no extra credit cause I'm fucking shady. I stay up in the shadows, demons creeping, body shallow. I always want the battle, hear the sound of death rattle.
I got paper in this duffel, you got problems, I can tell. Hope my coffin come with stuff with dope and double C Chanel. I got 7-figure sales, you got tied up, then you fail. I listen your one don't wear unless your years is spent on grill.
Good to meet you, nice to know you, nice to know you, nice to know you. I'm back. I couldn't sleep for like a month straight, but I'm back. I've gotten sleep. I'm not sleep deprived. I need to pay my rent. I need to make money. I need to have fun and be joyous and kind on the internet by laughing at people like this and criticizing them because that's fun. I love fun. Everybody loves fun. But yeah, I'm back. Today we're gonna be watching a, I guess a call-out type video on SUZY Doodletones. If you don't know who SUZY Doodletones is, also I forgot to mention, Yin the Yan, my friend, my dearest friend, I love Yin. She's the one who made the video. I actually boosted it, I think like a week or so ago. Anyways, SUZY Doodletones, she was somebody who was really known in the slideshow commentary community. I know a lot of people from my sphere may or may not know what that is, so I'm kind of just gonna explain that real quick. So, slideshow commentary, right? Imagine art commentary, but instead of, like, you know, art stills, you just use random fucking images from Google. Like, you could use that old dude, you know, that, old guy on the grandpa... What is he? The old grandpa on the laptop or whatever? You could use that as you commentate, and it, like, switches for every emotion you want to convey. But yeah, no. Yin the Yan made a video on SUZY Doodletones. People in the community have been nonstop talking about SUZY Doodletones, so I decided I'm going to go ahead and take a look. I have watched a little bit of this before. I hate to say it. But I have a lot to say, so let's get started. Okay.
Why shouldn't I have my cloud palace in the sky?
Okay.
Please pay attention to the following trigger
Okay. I love the dramatic mosquito voice opening, and then it just switches to trigger warning, grooming, sexual harassment. Oh my god, dude! Not streaming for a fucking month has me like tongue-tied. This is awful. But yeah, blah 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 blah. I
warnings
don't care.
on screen. SUZY Doodletones, as much as they claim not to be, was a main figurehead in the slideshow commentary community with 15.1k subscribers and had gained quite a reputation given their involvement in dramas and situations such as Medica, Just a Robot, and Spoctor.
Oh my god! Hey, Spoctor made a video on me. Also, Jar's my favorite autistic man. I love to see that.
Along with the main thing many people dogged on them
Also,
for.
right off the bat, I'm gonna say, I don't really understand what the hype around SUZY Doodletones even was. Like, yeah, I wasn't in slideshow commentary, right? So I guess I don't have a say as to how prominent in the community she is or whatever. But me personally, I've watched like a little bit of her content and I never got the appeal. Like, I'm sorry, I understand she's trans and stuff like that, and you know, using voice changers and filters can help people with their gender dysphoria. But when you have like a voice changer that makes you sound like a fucking mosquito, I'm not gonna be able to watch more than 5 minutes of your video. Like, I'm gonna be dead ass, dude. It's annoying. Like, imagine somebody's talking about like a child predator and they're just like me. I'm SUZY Doodletones. Today we're gonna be looking at this child predator. Like, I hate it. I fucking hate it.
And that was the reveal of their diaper fetish, where SUZY would claim that Medica
I forgot
coined
about
said
that.
name, Doodle Diapers, that SUZY would use to bash people who insulted them with said nickname, despite the fact that it had recently been proven that SUZY was the person who coined the phrase on their old.
Behold, from the creator of the D-Diaper, Doodle Diapers Inc. brings you the Time Diaper. Just think of an age and you'll become it, but the only downside being you'll be a bedwetter. But for those who will play, that isn't a problem. Order, start role-playing now. So, like, apparently, how old was she? Like, 17 or 18 years old? She used to do diaper fetish role plays and shit like that on DeviantArt, where her Sona, I think, what was it, was mentally 18 but had the body of like a 6 or a 7-year-old for doing these diaper fetish role plays. And a lot of people, Mr. Medica especially, shat on her for that, which I think that's pretty funny. I think that's deserved.
Old DeviantArt account. But despite all that, she was seen as a reputable person in the community until.
No, Tempest, I did not do diaper role plays. What the fuck are you talking about? I would never. I'm not I can't use that word. Oh my god. I don't like diapers. I don't like the idea of shitting myself and acting like I'm 5 while having sex. Thank you very much. I think that's disgusting, but I digress. I'm not a liar. Fuck you.
Logs were published, tying them back to that situation, where they took their leave around this time last year, where victims of the FCK had asked them to take a hiatus from the internet. Some of of you who are a regular on the channel,
Oh,
may
I was
remember-
muted. Oops. Once again. Okay. What I was saying was I was yapping about the FCK and how I'm not really going to get into that, but SUZY Doodletones was in the FCK server, which had Hopeless Peaches, there's too many fucking names. Basically, a lot of our commentary people were in, basically, what do you call it? A grooming Discord server, to put it bluntly, you know? Not great stuff. SUZY wasn't super active, but people are speculating on just how much she knew about that server. Blah, blah, blah.
it from when
We'll watch the FCK lore videos probably another time, because I don't want to be, like, yapping about this for 5-10 fucking minutes straight.
I covered the Ruby lighter fluid situation, and how I mentioned multiple people were in that server, including Doodletones, who sat idly on this. More information about that situation will be listed down below. Now you may be asking yourself, where did their channel go, given how much was archived on it, and they'd only been asked to take a hiatus and not vanish forever? Well, I would like to direct you to a video SUZY uploaded in 2021 about a person called George Raccoon, another member of the SEC, who had been around Doodle and the space to the earliest recollection of 2016.
Dude, imagine being a pedophile and your name's like George. Oh yeah, that's George down the street. Oh, he likes to touch kids. Pretty fucked up name. Very generic. Very boring. Like, you couldn't pick a better name than just George Raccoon. What about, like, Dario the Diddler or some shit like that? Like, come on, be creative with the names at least.
Seen in this Skype chat. George Raccoon had been accused of grooming a minor called Leo in the form of a document that had been posted in 2019, explaining how George would
George got a little too curious about children. Dude, that's fucked up. You can't do that. Curious George was a part of my childhood, and I'm glad this guy wasn't, though. I feel like he would have molested me or something like that.
expose them to their kink and normalize it to them. The kink being a certain magic trick, and also, and George will deny this, Snow White, a character in its
Always
most
enjoy
common
your streams, VTUBER less than 3.
Thank you. Thank you for the 5, Mothman, and I'm glad you enjoy. It's been a while, so I'm probably a little shaky, probably gonna fuck up my words, but as long as we're all having fun, I don't care. So let's have fun. Let's watch this shit. Blah, 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 blah.
depiction being aged 14.
I talk too much.
Where
I need to
George
fix
would
this.
draw people's characters in that dress. Now, why had SUZY taken so long to cover the topic? Well, they had actually spent those 2 years singing George, more commonly known as Horace's, good praises, in preparation for said video's release, where SUZY would proceed to defend him. This is the story of how a key figure in the slideshow commentary community defended a groomer, allowed them back into their community, and caused victims to apologize, along with said victims even ending up in the same spaces as their groomer. As a preface for this video, SUZY has been facing backlash on other situations that are now being revisited, and others will be talking about them in due time. I understand the limit of my scope and will be mainly focusing on the horror situation. So now, without further ado, let's get into it. 2019, SUZY's George Raccoon stream. Back in 2019, before SUZY even made the Horace video, they hosted a stream where they came to his defense. Unfortunately,
How mentally ill or stunted do you have to be to where you're at the point where you see a call-out document on a groomer who has very specific odd fetishes, you know, not just like, oh, I like feet, I want to fuck this miner's toes or some shit like that. Stuff like magic tricks, etc., etc. You look at this document, you look at the evidence presented, and you go, yeah, I think I'm going to sweep for that pedophile. I think that's an awesome idea. Everybody is just misunderstanding this poor, innocent, small bean George, the pedophile. George could do no wrong, okay? In fact, I'm going to dedicate a stream and a video to defending this guy and letting him back into the community and enabling him behind closed doors. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Are you stupid? Are you stupid?
there isn't much if any record of the stream occurring, aside from multiple testimonies, and the backlash Doodletones got from said stream for blaming the victim for the actions Horace took. Doodle would then later go on to cry about this in Horace's DMs, when they were planning to do their video in 2021, saying,
Well, I hope you get the chance one of these days. Suzy. Yeah, unfortunately, the people I've yet to convince in the Cloud Palace are people I don't get to talk to often enough about it. Like, I don't see Silver very often. Musha has never entered Cloud Palace voice chats, but I don't know. Eventually, I might just say fuck it and release a video with my thoughts, but I also know how the community can be. The last time I tried speaking in your defense, I was bullied into silence. As you fucking should be, dude. You speak up for a pedophile, you deserve to get pummeled into the ground. That's how it works. Are you fucking dumb? Are you dense? Like, how are you shocked about this?
Saying how the SEC quote-unquote bullied them into silence. But we will get into the DMs between Doodle and Horace in due time. 2021. Can we please talk about George Raccoon? In this part, I will mainly be dissecting the insanity of SUZY's video in defense of Horace, that thankfully still exists thanks to Internet Archive. Well, I may as well explain why a lot of this information is hard to come by, and how Doodle had deleted their channel. In Doodle's own words, accidentally, when in 2025 the George video was learnt about more widely by people such as Lio Convoy and Chuli, where they had
This bitch is fucking lying. There's no way you can accidentally, like, delete your fucking YouTube channel. That takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. There's also other methods that, you know, YouTube tries to pop up on your screen, right? You go to delete your account, basically, and it's like, oh, are you sure? Are you sure you want to delete this? Are you sure you want to delete this? Blah, 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 blah. There's no way you can accidentally delete a fucking YouTube channel. What'd you do? Sit on your fucking phone or something while you had YouTube Studio open or your fucking account settings and just press the delete button with one of your ass cheeks or some shit? Like, I don't understand how you can accident. Sorry, I just choked on Dr. Pepper. Fuck. I don't understand how you can accidentally... whatever, she's lying. She didn't accidentally delete anything.
Requested Doodle hand over ownership of the account, due to it having a lot of important archive calls and videos, along with information in the comment sections on said videos.
I need to drink
Doodle
more water.
agreed to
Maybe
do,
this is my
but
issue of,
explained
like,
they
being
had accidentally
tongue-tied all the
deleted
time.
it, which is a very convenient excuse, and utter bullshit in my opinion, as
It
anyone
is.
who has owned a YouTube account or Google account would know there are several safeguards in place to stop that from happening. And the only defense SUZY provides for this is...
This is fucking extortion!
But I won't dwell
Oh, I love that fucking clip. Chris should make that his donation sound again, honestly. I miss it. I really do miss it.
on this point too long. Here is the video.
God, this video terrifies me. Before you jump to a conclusion, please...
I don't know what this mosquito bitch is saying, so we're turning on closed captions for this. Enjoy.
Hear me out. October 6th, 2019, the slideshow commentary community was hit with a document posted by user Channel Gray, written by an ex-user Leo whatever, detailing their experience talking with ex-commentator George Raccoon. This experience, explaining how they felt groomed by George, was the first...
So this is it. This is where I tell you everything. I don't want to. I don't because I still care, but I need to. In 2019, I was once again groomed on the internet. The following document will be a detailed description of interactions oh my god, I actually can't read. I'm so fucking cooked. No wonder people call me a retard. Anyways, I, Leo, had with former friend of mine, George Raccoon, who will be simply referred to as George for the rest of this document. The document will be posted in my private Twitter account because as of summer this year, my public Twitter account has been suspended, presumably forever, and I have no intentions as of right now to create a new one. I do, however, give you, the reader, my full consent to spreading this statement around, copying the link to it, and speaking publicly on my behalf about the situation should you feel that it is important. I'm entrusting the spreading of my story to the select few mutuals I have on my private Twitter. I especially urge you to share this with any minor that has come into... Okay, yeah.
time in recent memory that the
Let me scroll down. There are secrets which I was entrusted with. There are secrets I never swore to tell, but the severity of what I suffered through has rendered a lot of those promises hollow to me. I still have no intention of hurting him. I have no intention of humiliating him.
SEC ever dealt with an expose in a typical cancel culture way. In retort, instead of defending himself, George left the internet, presumably admitting to...
Okay, SUZY says, I suppose you wouldn't want to hear from anyone right now, and much less myself, but I've had some people ask me to talk to you about the recent stuff that's getting spread across Twitter. I don't know what quite happened myself. I'm mostly skimming the document myself currently, but I'd like to hear what happened from your end. Okay. So you skim a doc about child predation and grooming, and then you decide to go to the person being accused of that before reading the full thing to get their side? Dude, come on. I get it, right? You know, devil's advocate, want to ask your fucking friend, well, hey, what's going on? Somebody said that you touched their vagina when they were 14. But, like, come on, dude. At least read the fucking document thoroughly. Okay, and George says, I deleted my YouTube account, I deleted my Twitter, I protected my Twitter because I felt people don't want to look at it, and upon my mom's request, I took down the major accounts. However, I realize now that some will see this as me running away from my responsibility, even when some want me to withdraw from the internet entirely, or Charlie telling me to do chemical castration. I encourage this, honestly. He probably should go that route. I'm not happy at myself for what I have caused. There's no defending myself, and there's no point in beating myself up about it, even when it's really hard not to. The intention I had in my mind between me and Leo was that I shared the videos because it looked like he was liking them. Oh yeah, so the kid liked them. The kid liked engaging in your weird fetish shit, so it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. No, the fuck it's not, dumbass. Anyways. I didn't know that something was wrong with what I was doing until it was too late. There's no going back to fix it. What happened, happened. It's not good for me to shrug it all off, especially not something as big as this. Was what I did wrong? Absolutely. And I have a lot to learn from all of this. I know now not to share my not safe for work stuff with a minor, and to be a lot more considerate about how they feel. When I was sending him videos and stuff about him in a dress, I wasn't thinking about fucking Leo or anything sexual with him. This is the part where it's the trickiest to word myself, as I'm walking on eggshells as I'm typing this, and explain myself. I didn't react very well after I first apologized to Leo. I started to feel extremely guilty of hurting him, and I made things worse by changing my vent name bio and writing a tweet that ended it with goodbye. And some told me before that could come off as manipulative, and I ended up making him feel worse doing so.
Depending on who you ask.
Straight off the bat, we can see George outright admitting to what he did to Leo and how he allowed someone who he knew was a minor to access the NSFW account.
That's perfectly fine, according to SUZY. What's the problem, Yen? Why does this video exist? I see no issue.
And I quote, I deleted my YouTube account. I deleted my Twitter.
Are you fucking kidding me? I read all of that just to have Yen read it for me. Fuck me. Okay.
I protected my Twitter because I felt people don't want to look at it, and upon my mum's request, I took down the major accounts. However, I realize now that some will see this as me running away from my responsibility, even when some want me to withdraw from the internet entirely, or Charlie telling me to do chemical castration. I'm not happy at myself for what I have caused. There is no defending myself, and there is no point in beating myself up about it, even when it's really hard not to. The intention I had in my mind between me and Leo was I shared the videos because it looked like he was liking them. I didn't know that something was wrong with that. I was doing until not good for me to learn from or considerate about thinking about fucking as I'm walking on of not having and typing this and explaining myself. Immediately there is a contradicting point here of not having the intention of doing anything sexual with him, and yet you show.
But then you send your not safe for work shit to the person you know is a kid. You do have intent. You just don't want to admit it, because if you go, yeah, despite, you know, the fetish being a bit taboo and odd and what normal people probably wouldn't be turned on by, I am turned on by this. This is my fetish content. Like, come on. Come on. Come on. Regardless of the fucking fetish, if you are exposing a child to your fetishes, you are using them for your own sexual intention, your own desire, your own pleasure. I don't know how this is, like, such a shocking thing for this dude to, like, wrap his head around. It makes sense, bro.
Account with a minor
it's not that deep.
And share said fetish of disappearing acts because he liked them. Just because a minor likes guns doesn't mean I'm gonna hand him a rifle and tell him to have fun. Are we?
That's what we do in Texas. I actually think that if you live in Texas, you should give all your children guns. I want a UMP-45. I'll take it to school one day. No, I won't. I'm not in school. I'm not in school.
Being so for real right now.
I want to go to college,
to begin
though.
This structural disaster of a video, I guess let's break down what the accusations themselves are. Mind you, the way that I'm wording these is just what the accusations are. Obviously, I'll be spending the rest of the duration of this video detailing which ones are accurate and which ones definitely needed more evidence. But with that said, the accusations are that George, who was in his 20s, led an at the time minor.
Okay, so the minor was 16 years old. Okay.
On his NSFW-ish account.
Off the bat, SUZY completely misinterprets the document intentionally here by saying that the allegation is a minor got access. If we actually read the document, it states the following, and I quote, I am not typically allowed on my friends' NSFW accounts because, well, I'm still a minor. I do not ask for permission to access these accounts because that would be inappropriate. And my friends don't invite me to follow them because that would be even more inappropriate. But I did follow one porn account of one of my friends, and whilst George described his account as NSFW-ish, he still openly spoke about what was sexually arousing to him.
If it's a not safe for work account, it's a not safe for work account. There's no like ish or kind of or sort of. It's just not safe for work. If it's something that turns you on and you have an entire account dedicated to that, that is a not safe for work account. Boom. It's not ish.
Which by default makes it inappropriate for minors such as myself. I will stress that during the time I followed the account, I saw that there were other minors on it as well, but they were people I didn't know personally, so that kept me from reaching out to them. The role of his account was that he had to reach out to you and allow you on there, and he did. He reached out to me,
Yeah, it really is, oh my god. The way she frames this, the dishonest framing of it, you know what, actually, yeah, I don't think she even read the fucking, Google document. I don't think she did. She probably just skimmed it, looked at it, and was like, well, I can defend George here, here, and here. Especially with the way she's misrepresenting the, allegations against George. The child didn't just follow the account. He reached out to them to get them to follow it. Why are you painting this as something that it's not?
invited
Like, come
me,
on.
a 16-year-old. He actively wanted me to follow it. And if you want to be like that and tell me I shouldn't have been on it in the first place, then fine, go ahead. I didn't know it was NSFW until I started following it, but once I saw the words NSFW-ish in the bio, I should have immediately left. I should have, but I didn't. I liked George himself, rationalized it was okay because it was only partly NSFW, we were
Partly an SFW or not, you shouldn't have kids around that type of content. I don't care.
both in the wrong for that. I'll take
Also, it's not the kid's fault. They were fucking 16. The responsibility is on the adult who initially provided them access to this account and the fetish content. It's kind of heartbreaking to see a kid who went through shit like this blame themselves. And I understand it. I understand where they're coming from, because it's like, oh, I should have known better than to let this happen, and it's my fault that he got in trouble. No, it's his own fault. Nobody is to blame but him, not you.
responsibility for that if I have to. End quote. Now, by itself, that may sound like a minor slip-up, but this kind of language is consistent throughout this video. Note how what's said here is a subtle but much more damaging allegation compared to what SUZY is trying to portray. Now you may be saying, Yen, you're giving SUZY too much credit. SUZY is a deranged moron, right? Well, you are right.
True.
But what I mean by this is that I would like to show you a pattern of behavior here of how SUZY uses their own personal vested interest in a situation to go ahead and sway it which way or the other. Something I will build on much later into this video, and in all honesty, the situation I'm referring to deserves its own video in of itself, but I will explain it all in due time.
He would draw his friends, including
When I first met George, I was 14. 2017 was the first time I met a lot of my other friends in the community I'm currently in, and some of my closest friends to date. Meeting him happened naturally as I got familiar with the friend group. We had a mutual liking for the character Snow White and other things like Kingdom Hearts and so on. Snow White was one of my favorite Disney princesses at the time, and he shared that mindset, so it was something we bonded on every now and again. A popular thing George used to do was that he would draw his friends and other fictional characters in Snow White dresses. I'm sure you've seen at least one or more drawings from him with that theme. And when I was 14, he came to me telling me he was planning to draw me in one. I was excited and I felt very honored to have someone draw something for me, especially when it came to a Snow White drawing, because I knew George liked her and drawing those things. I really didn't think anything of it, and I was happy. Luckily, I was contacted by one of my good friends, Gwen, and minutes later she warned me not to let him do this. She forbid George from drawing me in the dress and told him to back off immediately. What I didn't know was that the dresses were a form of kink for him, and I had no reason to doubt Gwen when she said this, because she was one of my closest friends at the time, and she wouldn't cut in like this unless it had to do with my safety. I believed her, and I got scared, and recent events would only prove her right. If you ask George about this, he will deny it and argue that the drawings are not sexual, it's just a hobby. I and many others don't believe that for a second, but to me it doesn't have to be a straight-up sexual thing, because it clearly is something he finds appealing, meaning that drawing minors in such outfits still isn't okay because he's an adult, and I'll explain this concept further as we continue. I love how the kid here is smarter than Doodletones, who's like, what, late fucking 20s? Like, how pathetic, how brain-rotted do you have to be to defend a guy like that? And be like, yeah, no, this kid's in the wrong. This kid's in the wrong. These are false allegations. Like, go fuck yourself, honestly.
including said minor in Snow White dresses, which were a fetish of his, send pictures of himself wearing said dress to the minor. This was seen as him being sexual. Would constantly pester the minor, who, should also mention at this point, was trans, into wearing said dress, which was uncomfortable for them. King also mentioned that this was seen as a fetish of his.
Okay, let me
sent pictures
read.
of himself.
Some time went by and George continued sending me dress pictures and I continued complimenting him because he was basically asking me to and I didn't want to be rude. Then just a few weeks before everything went to shit after this having passed and not been talked about for nearly 2 months, he said that he would still love to see me in a Snow White dress one day because I would look very pretty in it. That scared me, but I just laughed it off and reiterated that my old dress didn't fit. And then he recommended me where I could buy one, sent me a link, said I could ask my parents for it as a Halloween gift, and said, I believe in you. Don't lose hope. This guy was damn determined to jerk off to this fucking 14-year-old in a Snow White dress. But we're going to defend that. We're going to defend that. That's awesome. That's totally fine and normal. That's totally acceptable. I see no issue here. I see no issue here. The kid's in the wrong.
Wearing said dress to the minor, this was seen as him being sexual, would constantly.
Let me put this into perspective for those of you that don't know me. I'm a non-binary trans mask. Something that gives me extreme dysphoria more than anything else is dresses. Whenever I'm at a family reunion, I'm practically forced to wear them by my family, and I hate it. I have openly spoken about this multiple times on my vent that George followed on two separate accounts at the time of this happening. And anyone who even remotely knows me, like George did, knows that I can't stand dresses and they are dreadful for me to wear. What George was doing was clearly a form of objectification. This is true. This is true. Remember that whole statement about how pedophiles and groomers usually objectify their victims rather than seeing them as actual people? He's going against this person's boundaries to get himself off. Well, like, obviously a boundary is being crossed. They're fucking 14, but, like, you get what I mean? George asked me to dress up as his kink, despite knowing that dresses are incredibly stressful for me, despite knowing the dress was nearly 10 years old, and I have grown significantly since I was 7, despite knowing that I'm a minor.
Hester the minor, who should also mention at this point, was trans into wearing said dress, which was uncomfortable for them, came back to doing all this stuff after being confronted about it initially, sent videos of magic tricks to a minor.
Oh, great. I started feeling very uncomfortable by what he was doing. Every time I'd open my Twitter, I'd see a DM from him, and my blood would run cold. Even more so when he asked about my thoughts after I had tried to avoid watching the video. I did watch them all, but only because I felt pressured to. Maybe it would have been easy for you to say no, but I can't do that. I can't shut someone like that down. Or someone down like that, especially not someone like George, who practically lives by the philosophy of, don't call me out on my bullshit because I will beat myself up until you feel like a monster and drop the charges. He had done this multiple times. Looking back on it now, I can only really describe it as him forcing his kink on me. We'll talk about his motivations another time, but that is what he was doing. His interest in magic was a hobby he enjoyed talking about, and he was super passionate about it, yes. But on top of that, it was also his kink. I wasn't trying to lead him on by saying it was cool. I just didn't want to seem disinterested when he was so into it. Then one day, he just hit me up and told me he'd made a drawing without my knowledge or permission. He'd drawn my OC, Leo, acting out the décolleté chair trick. This image has been lost due to George removing his accounts, but I do have screenshots of him admitting to doing it. Now, because I'm AFAB, Leo has feminine appearance. It's simply the way I look in real life, so naturally my OC would have a similar appearance. And considering George disregarded how dresses make me uncomfortable because I'm trans and go by he, him, I'm not saying Leo's appearance had anything to do with it, but is it entirely unreasonable to assume that? Either way, he still drew me, a 16-year-old, acting out the thing he said he found sexually arousing. He drew me vanishing underneath a cloth, the very same act he'd stated to be a kink of his. Lovely.
Minor, magic tricks being another fetish of his. After Leo broke off the
I was up half fucking night. There was no calming me down, and I want to say it looked like 3 hours of talking to my friends and having people contact me left and right before I started to relax. I'm emotionally unstable, and I could not stop blaming myself, because of course not. George had made sure of that, saying, don't feel bad. Doesn't mean shit when you're comparing yourself to the scum of humanity in front of someone. But like I said, my friends were there, and I occupied myself as best as I could while I was sobbing amidst the darkness. I really have them to thank for me eventually collecting myself. Had I not had these people with me that night, I don't know what would have happened. At that point, I was just exhausted and I could barely keep my eyes open. My head hurt, my body hurt, just about everything was terrible, but I was calm. I was so sad and hurt and tired, but breathing was fine and my heartbeat wasn't racing anymore. So I decided to just get ready for bed. It was late, I was miserable, and I would probably cry myself to sleep, but I still needed rest. I left my phone on the bed and went to the bathroom to prepare to go to sleep. I even tweeted that I was going to bed and that I couldn't take any more of this tonight. 20 minutes later, I returned to a barrage of messages from George. He was in my DMs at 4 in the morning having a fucking meltdown. He said he told me not to feel guilty, that he wrote those things because he felt bad and needed to be away, that I shouldn't hurt myself, that I'm not an asshole, that I had the right to let him know things were bad, that the last he wanted to see was me in pain, and okay, you know what? You need to stop. Don't fucking do this. You don't DM a teenager in the middle of the night and spam them with messages, even if they're awake, even if it's nice or kind. I don't give a fuck, especially not when you know they're having a panic attack or are recovering from one, which George clearly did, and the argument was that, oh, it was only evening for George. Doesn't work because everyone in my friend group knows that I'm from Sweden and my time zone is vastly different from theirs. George knew that.
The friendship with George, he had blown up in their DMs with a lot of concerning self-destructive messages, and blatantly admitted
He said that he didn't know that was an issue. He had already admitted he messed up, and then he asked me what he could do to make it up for me, aside from not grooming me again. And I just, what? Listen, you can't make it up to me. Not after you guilt-tripped me and blew up my DMs in the middle of the night after I tweeted. How are you going to say the word grooming and how can I make things better in the same sentence and not realize that, no, you can't. Grooming isn't a mess-up. Why is that so hard to understand? Real!
to groom Leo. Wow, these accusations seem rather damning, right? It's cut and
They fucking are. They fucking are. Don't pull this sarcastic bullshit, Suzy. You're a piece of shit. Subhuman scum of the earth. Die.
dry. That should be the end of it. Video over. George groomed Leo. Roll credits. Except this is when I scream in frustration at how quickly people were to believe these accusations, especially in 2019, a year after the Spockter Theory situation happened.
Oh my god.
So,
Shut
let's
up,
go over
shut up,
what
shut up,
isn't-
shut up, shut up, shut up. I hate it when people do this. They're like, well, didn't we learn from this situation and that situation? And, what about this thing? You sound like fucking Jar. I know this is like ages old, right? This bitch sounds like just a robot. Well, if Cindy can get away with it, or if Cindy's in the bath, then why did Pyrocynical, and why did this, why did that? Like, shut up, shut up. Focus on this singular situation. And actually take time to understand the allegations that are being presented instead of just sweeping it under the rug because you want to go fuck George or some shit.
Isn't true within this document, starting with something that is objectively true, because I do want to go into this as unbiased as humanly possible.
Also, hi, Gilded Poo.
I won't be able to go into it fully unbiased, of course, but, you know, I'll give it a fair chance. George did...
Also, here's the thing. If you can't be objective in a situation regarding grooming, I don't think you have any stance to like, take on it. You shouldn't speak on this. You should step back. Let somebody else handle it instead of being like, oh, my best friend got outed as a pedophile groomer, but I don't believe the victim because of my own bias and blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to make a video. Like, fuck off. Let somebody else cover this shit. If you can't be objective, don't cover it. Especially not when it comes to grooming. Fuck off.
let Leo onto his NSFW-ish account. So, to elaborate, as someone who also followed that account at the time, George had a specific account where he could share more adult themes to his friends who were more comfortable with it. There wasn't any
Comfortable with it. It's an adult-themed account. Just keep kids off of it. How are you going to sweep for this?
nothing necessarily explicit ever posted on there, I want to assure you, and this was detailed out the gate for anyone who followed that account.
As we can see on this screen, it clearly states how George would post things related to his fetishes, which by its nature is sexual. At least for George, including bunny suits, something intrinsically sexual.
Let me read this, actually. Hold on. Hello and welcome to my not safe for work-ish account. If you follow this account, then you have my trust. Okay, so you have the trust of a what? 14, 15, 16-year-old? Something along the lines of that? Okay, red flag number one. I talk about things I don't normally talk about or share in any other circumstance. As such, here are some ground rules. Number one, porn and nudity will not be retweeted on here since I have no reaction to that. Them's the breaks, I'm afraid. Okay, so normal porn and nudity doesn't give him a boner. But, magic tricks? Kids in Snow White dresses? Oh, boing! Like, what the fuck? How do you read this? And then go, oh, well, you know, the material that's in it isn't technically porn, so it's not technically grooming. I don't care. This motherfucker was still getting off to stuff like that, okay? And involving kids in it. And allowing kids to see this shit. You're fucking retarded if you don't see what the issue with this is. Like, come on.
Finding its most common association to the Playboy company in the magazines it releases, and
Snow White drawings are plentiful here, although it's not a kink of mine, I just like doing them. But there was somebody who stepped in and tried to stop George from drawing Leo earlier because they knew that it actually was a kink. He's in denial. Also, the whole thing about the magic tricks, even if you want to take the Snow White dress shit out of it, the magic trick stuff. That's still pretty damning. Damning. God, I can't pronounce shit. I think it's pretty damning.
And as an outfit that is of a sexual nature, not to mention George's more discreet kinks like magic tricks being listed. You could make the point in saying Snow White isn't a fetish for Horace, but given it is stated to be posted on his NSFW account,
That's also a thing. It's like, if you have no sexual attraction to that, why are you only posting it on your not safe for work account? Not safe for work-ish account. If it was purely safe for work, I'm sure he would be fine plastering this all over his normal social media. Would he not? Would he not? I don't know. Just a thought.
I find a very hard time believing this. A point I will build upon later into this video.
As the pinned tweet had this image directly connect to it. You may be noticing some other things on here that'll be important later, and don't worry, we'll come back to them. The important part of this image at the moment, though, is rule number 1. Porn and nudity will not be retweeted on here. So nothing that George shared directly was NSFW. So in that sense, he was fine. However, considering that he did label it as NSFW-ish, that's still arguably not exactly okay, and as someone who's kept in touch with
Arguably not exactly okay. What type of sweeper language is this? Come on, dude. It's a kid being led on to somebody's not safe for work account. That's pretty fucking bad.
them for all this time, yes, even he acknowledges in hindsight this was not okay. So sure, in that sense, George was irresponsible. Not to the extent he should be ostracized.
He literally invited them onto that account. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, it was just irresponsible. No, he sent that shit directly to them, Suzy! Are you retarded? Sorry. I'm trying to, like, keep the R word right. The R word only to people who genuinely fucking deserve it. Pedophiles, groomers, or the defenders. I think she deserves it.
And crucified for it, personally, I'd argue, but definitely should have been informed that this was not okay. So with that out of the way, I would also like to confirm something else explained in Leo's document. Being that George did have a habit of self-destructing at the time, and I think just about everyone who was friends with him at the time had told him that this was a problem at some point. So him going into Leo's DMs in the screenshots we
I already said this before, but I seriously apologize for everything. I act out with my own emotions, beating myself up and bringing it over here, and I ended up hurting you in the process. Sometimes whenever I feel depressed or upset, my own mind goes to heavy extremes with negativity. It gets clouded with bad ideas. Even after we talked it out yesterday about the UFO account and how I wouldn't send you any more magic videos, I felt responsible for affecting you so much, to the point where my mind went...
We do see towards the end of the document are kinda...
Also, here's the thing. If you're an adult, you shouldn't be venting to a minor in general. You shouldn't really be having these close connections to a minor in general. I don't know why that's hard to comprehend in this community, but I digress.
On brand. This is also something I'd argue shouldn't be a huge strike against George, though, as we don't see him doing it maliciously in the screenshots we get.
Maliciously. It doesn't matter. He still caused harm to a kid. Oh my fucking god. Don't vent to kids if you're an adult, okay?
In fact, everything that George says in those screenshots are evidence more against the idea that he was doing it to be purposely manipulative.
The very fact that Horace got called out for his horrific actions by Leo and is now self-deprecating himself to his victim is manipulative, Doodle. Given these...
Also, even if you don't want to think about it in the context of grooming specifically, let's say that you're in a toxic relationship, hopefully with somebody your own age, right? You break up with them. And what do? Because of the fact that you broke up with them, they start guilt tripping, or I guess, quote unquote, venting, right? About how, like, oh, I'm an awful fucking person, you should just leave me to rot alone, and blah, 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 and oh, I'm probably gonna kill myself, blah, 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 blah. Even that's not okay. If you're having thoughts like that, you need to fucking talk to somebody else, a rational person who can remain unbiased and objective on the situation itself, or just write it down in a fucking journal. I don't know. Therapy, BetterHelp, or some shit. I know that's awful, the site's awful, but I'd recommend it over literally nothing else.
Screenshots were in the
If you have
document,
nothing else
it is
going on
apparent
for
to
you.
me that this could be seen as Horace trying to silence his own victim by apologizing here and there. Despite the fact that earlier in this video you showed the part of in 20...
Also, true dreamer, the power and control with an abuser and their victim. You know, trying to be like, oh, well, I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that I was hurting you so much. It's because they aren't viewing the victim as an actual person. They're just viewing the victim as an object that they can derive pleasure and gratification from, be it love, support, attention, sexual needs, etc. Money? Like, there's a lot of different ways.
2019, how Horace wanted to draw Leo in a dress, but also how in 2017, when Leo was 14, Horace had wanted to draw Leo before, but under Leo's friend's guidance had been told to not do that ever.
And he did it anyways.
But Horace had asked about it again and continued to engage with a minor in this manner, as if he...
It's not even just like... SUZY tries to excuse this with, oh, he was just irresponsible and negligent. No, he had intentions going into this. He knew it was wrong. He did it anyways. He got scolded for attempting to do it previously. He did it again months later. Pushing the boundaries, trying to test what works, what doesn't, until the victim eventually gives in and, goes with it. That's what abusers do. That's what groomers do. That is what he's fucking doing.
He had never given up on the idea of getting Leo specifically drawn in a dress, and normalized him to the idea of engaging in Horace's poorly disguised fetish.
Also, the whole idea of like, oh, well, it's just a Snow White dress. It's just a Snow White dress. Why would you sit there, want to draw a trans child in a dress, something feminine that goes against what they're trying to be perceived as, What intent does that have other than fetishization and kink and sexual gratification, blah, blah, blah. Every sexualization, whatever word, right? Like, come on. Not hard to think about, not hard to understand.
As his messages say that he fucked up, and that Leo shouldn't feel bad or concerned about anything he was saying, trying to reassure Leo that they can move on. But did George have any reason to feel as such? Well, this is why this video exists, because I plan to make the argument that, no.
What the fuck are you on about? Does he deserve to feel bad for the fact that he groomed a child? No, I don't think so, actually. Here's why. Like, fuck off.
No, I don't
Kill
think
yourself.
you should. Now, mind you, I'm not an expert. I should get that out of the gate. I'm merely giving my thoughts and feelings on this 2-year-old situation and why I disagreed with the common consensus. Whether or not you think I'm right or wrong by the end of it is entirely up to you. If your mind's made up, it's made up. I won't fight you on it. And as such, I want to stress to not go out and harass the individuals involved in this situation, especially given what I have to say about the situation by the end of it all. 1, because, yeah, this drama is about 2 years old and most everyone has moved on. 2, nobody, no matter how heinous their actions are, deserves harassment.
Find a bridge, Horace.
Contrary to the popular belief.
Honestly.
And 3, because harassing people is lame. Plain and simple. So now that I have the formalities out of the way, let's begin with the first part of the grooming allegation, the Snow White dress. So, something to note about George is that his favorite Disney princess is Snow White, and apparently in accordance to Leo, he and George would bond over their mutual appreciation for the character. Leo would allow George to draw their character wearing the dress of the titular character, and didn't see anything wrong with it until Gwen, another character in this story, informed Leo that the dress was a kink of George's, and that George was forbidden to draw anything regarding.
Also, here's the thing, if you want to argue that it's not a kink, then how the fuck does this other person know that it is a kink to the point where they have to step in and warn this kid about engaging with the adult, realistically? Well, it went both ways. They were both warned. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, hi, Morale. What's up?
Leo in her dress. But, hold on. George's aforementioned rules bulletin explicitly mentions that he doesn't see Snow White as a kink of his.
You're retarded!
An SFW-ish account from the beginning. So for Leo to sit there and believe something that was blatantly against that established descriptor feels kind of sketchy to me. Especially when Leo follows up explaining this to the reader that if you ask George about Snow White being a kink of his, he'd deny it, which always struck me as strange. To sit here and preemptively revoke any further discussion on this kind of topic by making such a blanket and certain statement claiming the subject to be a liar when the information they give doesn't match your own feels, ironically enough, like a lie in itself. The tone of this document is to inform.
The same could be said about you. You're literally willfully ignoring every red fucking flag, every indicator that, yeah, this guy's a pedophile groomer, to be like, well, actually, let's think about that. Like, fuck off. Kill yourself. You are so fucking dense. It's not hard to understand. Oh, my God. Also, why isn't she... You know what? Whatever.
Inform or educate people on your own experiences with an individual you claim to have groomed you. But as much as it typically isn't what people want to hear, there usually is 2 sides to a story such as this. And without the proper evidence...
And that's why you went to George instead of trying to ask the victim for, oh, I don't know, maybe more evidence if you thought that the document was fucking lacking.
To prove that your opposition has a behavioral pattern with lying or manipulation, this kind of claim feels more like its sole purpose is to shine a much more malicious light on your target instead of giving out the truth. Or at the very least, a believable testimony, which isn't some...
This is what you're doing. You're biased. This guy's your friend. You're coming in to sweep your fucking groomer pedophile friend. Everything you're saying here could be applied right back to you. What are you talking about?
Something you would want to do if your goal is to educate people on a groomer in the community. But to me, it doesn't have to be a straight up sexual thing, because it is clearly something he finds appealing. I'd also like to directly respond to this, because I find it to be frustrating. This claim would only be valid if we were to be under the pre-notion that George's appreciation for Snow White was sexual in nature.
Then why is it on the not safe for work account, you fucking retard?
Which, as I demonstrated, I don't have any reason to believe is the case, and with that, George could find this dress to be an aesthetic appeal, or maybe an appeal to nostalgia, or literally any other appeal that you could look at that's used in art and advertising. Appeal doesn't have to be sexual. This is again unfortunate to this document because anyone who thinks about this for longer than a minute tops could come to the same conclusion. I like to draw hoodies on my characters that don't typically have them and call them cool jackets because they're fun.
Oh my
and there's an appeal to
god.
drawing them.
Oh my god.
Yes,
Okay,
Doodle.
so making that argument, right? If you like hoodies, would you put that specifically on your not safe for work dedicated account? Or would you put it on your main one because, you know, you have no sexual interest in hoodies? Think, Doodle. Think. Fuck.
Because in Leo's document, there's no sign of Horace intertwining his known kink of magic tricks and the Snow White dress. Oh wait, there is a pattern in the screenshots of Horace and
I think it's about time I shared with you one of the most famous versions of the décolleté chair, but done by the one and only David Copperfield. Side note, I'm currently wearing the Snow White dress right now as I send you the video. I want to see what George looks like. I want to imagine, you know what? Maybe he has a beard and a bunch of, like, you know, hair on his fucking chest that's pushing through the dress on the front, right? Hairy ass fucking legs, a bunch of gross stubble, maybe some food crumbs all up on his mouth too, snot dripping down his nose, smells like fucking feet and onions. That's my mental picture of him right now. Oh, and his hair is brown, and it's all fucked up on the head like Shaggy or some shit.
Leo's tweet DMs of
That or he's like a skinny little twink who's bordering on like starvation.
Horace messaging about the Snow White dress, followed up by sharing videos of magic tricks. Horace is king. Even Horace himself says how he was currently wearing a Snow White dress while sending Leo a magic trick.
You have a picture of George? Dude, send me that. Can I show it on stream? I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to see it. Give me that shit. Immediately. I need to see if my, you know, my little suspicions are true.
Video. So no, Doodle, I don't think it's insane to say that the Snow White dress was a kink, but Doodle would never sully something as innocent as Snow White with the form of, oh, I don't know, children in diapers. Innocent as Snow White with the form of, oh, I don't know, children in
Time diapers! Wait. Okay, we got his face. Okay. Shut up! That's George Floyd! Fuck you, Pooh! Fuck off! Fuck off! I hate you. I fucking hate you. I hate you so fucking much! When I ask to see a pedophile, I don't want to see George Floyd in my fucking DMs, you little piece of shit. Anyways. Time diapers. Think the age you want, and you'll become it. However, you'll be a bedwetter. D-diapers. Diapers that never leak, never have an odor, and you never develop a rash wearing them. Oh boy, I sure would love to roleplay as a 6-year-old by wearing a diaper that never gets stinky or smelly so I can just piss and shit all the fuck I want to.
diapers.
That doesn't mean hoodies turn me on. Get real. Anyway.
Listen. This is going to be a very mean thing to say, right? But I'm willing to say it publicly. I'm not saying SUZY is a pedophile, but would it shock me if she got outed as like a pedophile or a groomer or something sometime in the future? Absolutely fucking not. I would not be shocked at all.
Then Leo.
I mean, you like role-playing in diapers and shitting yourself and pretending that you're like fucking 6 years old, and then you go on to defend a literal groomer. Yeah, I could see that happening. I could see SUZY Doodletones being an absolute fucking pedophile. I don't doubt
Who
it.
explains that Ren chewed George out about it. George backed down from drawing Leo in a Snow White dress, probably intimidated by Gwen if I'm to be honest. Though of course, that would be something you'd have to ask the supposed groomer in this scenario. And then cut to 2 years later in 2019.
You do realize that groomers lie, right? Why should we trust the word of a groomer? I'm just saying.
George winds up drawing Leo in a Snow White dress twice. Leo goes on to make the theory that it's because by this point they didn't hang out with Gwen anymore, and George, quote-unquote, knew he wouldn't be called out about it. And I'm so glad Leo clarified it as such, because otherwise it would heavily look like a narrative was being spun to ruin someone, and we definitely wouldn't want that. But in reality, could we not make the argument that George just forgot about what happened 2 years prior? Leo doesn't clarify that there was any conversation regarding the two of them that would have reminded George of the conversation in question, so this is again, at best, just an assumption on Leo's end that paints George in a much different light than what might have been the actual truth of the matter. Plus, Leo...
You can tell that her entire drive behind making this video was just to be like, yeah, they're not a groomer, they're not a groomer. Like, no shit, duh, right? But the whole painting this narrative that, oh yeah, the grooming victim in question is actually just, you know, spreading around a false narrative out of potentially spider malice, you know. It's really, really weird to see. That's what you're doing to the fucking kid. You're doing the exact same thing that you're getting onto this child for fucking doing. Come on, man. Come on. Oh.
Even tells us following this that George asked to draw the first piece for them. So even if he did remember, maybe he wanted to see if the opinion on the matter changed from whatever Gwen might have talked to George about, since we also didn't get that side of the story, and it was...
But the thing is, he was told not to engage with the fucking kid because it's sexual in nature to him. That's why he got scolded by Gwen or whatever their name was. Come on.
He was instead just told to get it through Gwen's at the time Twitter handle.
Also, wait, let's read that.
That side of the story, and it was instead...
For a similar incident involving... Oh, wait, hold on. If you feel the need to verify this story, you are free to contact blah, blah, blah on Twitter, also known as Gwen. She can share with you other details. For example, a similar incident involving George drawing minors in situations or in clothing that are sexually pleasing for him. Pattern of behavior.
Just told to get it through Gwen's at the time Twitter handle.
Ah yes, the mighty commentary amnesia of 2 years elapsing from being told something very bluntly, not to do something, but doing it anyway.
Following this, there's an explanation of George's self-destructive behavior before going...
Goat, were you ever friends with Doodletones? Fuck no. I've never liked him, okay?
On to justify that as the reason Leo said yes to everything that George did. And it's here that I really start questioning matters, because throughout the entire document, there's not a whole lot of screenshots to help Leo's case, and Leo does explain that because George deleted everything they did...
The thing is that George admitted to it, okay? He admitted that he did this shit. Come on.
Didn't exactly have the time or ability to screen cap everything that they thought was important. And like, okay, I get that. But when the screenshots that you do share are just you happily nodding to everything and getting excited that George drew you in a Snow White dress while simultaneously telling us, the reader, that you were uncomfortable about it all, then...
It's a fucking kid. No shit. Oh my god, it's almost like children don't know how to assert boundaries. Wow, shocking information for SUZY Doodletones. We love victim blaming.
Pardon me for looking at this whole situation skeptically. Did George know that these images made you uncomfortable?
Bitch! What do you mean? What do you mean? Okay, he shouldn't be engaging with the kid at all. Short and simple. Oh my fucking god.
Did you tell him they did? Because even...
Did you tell the pedophile not to touch you on the vagina? Like, shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
In accordance to your own document, that doesn't seem to be the case. You tell us that you said it was okay before going on your own self-deprecating tirade about the fact that you'll throw yourself to the dogs for your friends.
Way to put...
Trying to fucking word it like this kid's trying to be manipulative. Wow, good one. Good one, Doodle. Good one.
The blame on a victim for not voicing how uncomfortable they were when being groomed, and mock them for expressing their emotion in a document where they're coming out about their experiences. Real nice.
And I'd even be able to give the benefit of doubt in saying that you could have felt uncomfortable about it all in hindsight, but then not only would that be a lie because you actively told us that your mind wandered...
Dude, they literally said in the document why they went along with it. This bitch don't know how to fucking read. And here I thought I was bad at reading.
To the aforementioned conversation with Gwen, but also, that's in hindsight. This wouldn't change the reaction we see in the screenshots that Leo gave us that would have given George the idea that this was not only okay, but encouraged.
I just want to remind you, this is an interaction between someone who had known Horace since they were 14 years old, and knows Horace can self-destruct and self-deprecate himself when challenged or pushed on things, and having that thought lingering over their head while speaking to them. The point in saying Leo would throw themselves in front of a bus for their friends would mean that they would rather suffer than see his friends suffer. That would include Horace. You are saying you got flack for putting the onus on a child, Doodle, and yet you are doing it right here whilst making this point explicitly leaving out the parts where Horace does share his blatant kink of magic tricks to make your point.
Oh, but Doodle, are you trying to say that it's Leo's fault he was groomed? No, I'm saying this isn't grooming at all.
You're a fucking retard. How do you look at everything? Be like, yeah, irresponsible at best, but no grooming. You know, I don't think he had sexual intention. That's my friend. That's my friend. That's my friend, George Raccoon. I gotta defend him till the day I fucking die. Well, seems like George ultimately was your death. If the FCK shit and your ignorance, your, supposed ignorance and, I didn't know that the children were being molested in the Discord server shit ran dry. This is your death sentence. This is what you're dying about. Fuck. This is just so retarded. Dude. If I ever get canceled, it better not be for making a fucking video like that.
A very common
That is
tactic of
embarrassing.
grooming is testing the boundaries to figure out how you can push past them to get into a sexual context. For another example, and I apologize in advance for using an actual instance of grooming as an example, I'm aware of how tasteless
Love the little salty. I'm gonna use an actual example of grooming. Like, fuck off.
this could come off, but I feel it's important to show that what it would look like had George actually been trying to groom Leo in a situation such as this.
Then don't do it. I want to make a point in how disgusting and lowering of a victim's experiences when you compare two different cases in this way. You are out.
I also want to mention, just because you don't think it's grooming, all of the evidence that's been presented, the fact that George Raccoon actually admitted that he did all of this to SUZY, should be enough to be like, yeah, this guy's a creep to kids. We should probably, outcast him from the fucking community. If you don't want to use the groomer term, label, whatever, all right, cool, whatever. Don't care. Well, actually, I do care. I think you're a bit stupid if you look at this and be like, it's not grooming. But he's still involving a child with his fucking fetishes. He's still exposed a child to his not safe for work account. He's still exposed a child to his magic trick kink and shit like that. He apparently has a history of drawing multiple children in these fucking scenarios. Instead of, talking to mutual adult friends or something like that who also like that stuff and are willing to engage with that. Dude, come on.
Alright saying, well, it isn't as bad as this case of grooming, so it can't be that bad, and catering to the audience and community's understanding of a known and proven case of predation to undermine the voices of those affected in the horror situation.
Since our community actually has an example. So, let's talk about V Omega. V Omega was outed not even a full year after George's allegations by Joni Ruin at Twit.
This is so gay. Why are we fucking comparing? You don't need to compare. Oh my god.
This post
Well,
outlined
this situation was worse, so technically this one isn't as bad, and I don't think it's grooming because actual sexual shit happened here. Like, fuck off.
he was an abusive, controlling, transphobic groomer, and I will happily concur to those labels. I'll be talking my experience with them in another video.
This same thing could be said for George, though. What? Hello? Abusive, controlling, telling a minor to keep a secret. Hello?
If it's not already out, because I'll have to then. I'll leave a link below to the full twit longer if you would.
Yeah, no, Gilded Boo. Bragging about your community having an example of grooming is crazy. Take this prime example from my community, okay? This child got brutally molested, and I don't think that even compares to this current situation. It was the molestation drama of our time. Like, fuck off.
Wish to read up on it all, but the particular centerpiece that I want to look at, of course, is the grooming allegations. Though, while Joni didn't exactly have any screenshots relating to that particular allegation and was much more focused on V's abusive behavior, V sure as hell was willing to give them in a now deleted Twitter thread he was making responding to it all. Luckily, I have the important receipts. So, here's a screenshot that V took of their DMs from January of 2018.
Let me see. So, yeah. Also, I got gay furry porn too, so your choice, do nothing or reply back and make my job so much easier. XP, used your own quote. Lol, but not much of a porn person. Seductive art maybe, but not really porn. And no, I got that too. We don't speak of those days.
You can see here that V and Joni are talking about pornography, with Joni explicitly.
And once again, Doodle is ignoring the fact that George Raccoon on his Not Safe for Work account on Twitter stated that normal nudity and sexual stuff does not get him hard. It doesn't get the penis working. It doesn't get the blood pumping. So why are you even comparing these? These aren't comparable. They're different. Oh my god. I'm crashing out so bad. I'm starting to fucking lisp. I sound
Explicitly saying that she was not one to look at pornography. By April of the same year, the topic
Yeah, and George wasn't one to look at pornography either. Wow.
was brought up again, with Joni admitting to sometimes looking at specifically furry porn. By March of the next year, while we don't see the fullest extent of this screenshot, we can see that Joni was all for talking about pornography, showing that V's attempt to wear down her boundaries was, unfortunately, grossly successful. The fucking creep. But we don't.
So you're saying it's grooming if their boundaries get crossed, but if the child doesn't state boundaries, then, oh, well, technically the groomer, there was no boundary presented by the child. So, it's not really grooming. Like, dude. You said she was born in, 1997. Did they have lead or, what is it called? Asbestos in the house that she was raised in or something like that? Like, did she eat paint chips? There's something wrong with this bitch. And I don't know what, I don't know why.
See that with George. We're only told that through the lens of Leo, and even through that lens we can see that Leo never vocalized these feelings. So, how do we know that George's motivations are more malicious than maybe tone deaf? We
Literally just look at the Not Safe for Work account.
literally can't, and I'm tired of acting like this was okay. Plus, I want to point out that these drawings that Leo alluded to being a source of George's grooming. Even if they were sexual, it wasn't exclusive to Leo, which also puts into question how much of this.
But the thing is if you, whatever. If it's not exclusive to Leo, why not just find adults to send your magic trick and Snow White dress shit to? Also, is she not going to talk about the magic trick kink stuff here? Or is she just like, well, even though it technically says that the Snow White dress is on the Not Safe for Work account, it's not necessarily sexual in nature, despite, George admitting that he doesn't get turned on by normal things like most functioning, healthy adults do. Come on.
This could actually be considered as such.
Also, Doodletones is outright lying here by saying that Joni didn't have screenshots of the grooming occurring, and yet, the document they put out was full to the fucking brim with evidence. This document came out in 2020.
I wonder if she just skimmed on that document as well. Same with she did with Leo's document about George. I wonder.
As you can see currently scrolling.
It's also really funny how she was like, oh, well, these people didn't provide proper screenshots, so how should I believe them? Okay, you're not showing us the proper screenshots from that situation in which the victim did have evidence of. What are you doing? What are you on about?
Across the screen. To say that there is not evidence of predation and grooming here is idiotic.
I've mentioned this in my Sherman videos before, but grooming is a targeted action. Sure.
Do you not think that George was possibly targeting Leo? The first time when he tried to draw them in something kink related, he got a slap on the wrist and scolded by Gwen. Then he comes back months later to try again. Let's think about that. Let's ponder our orb about that for a second.
You could
Takes a
argue
lot of
someone
thinking.
can groom more than one person, but when George is making these kinds of images for anyone who's his friend above just a selection of people, then I'm sorry. Even if these had sexual undertones, it would just be grossly irresponsible and inappropriate at.
Bitch! Well, I mean, if the adult, sends something they're sexually attracted to and get off to a bunch of people, not just kids, then it's not really grooming, is it? They're sharing this with all of their friends. Like, fuck off. You are still endangering a minor and exposing them to your fucking fetish content. Come on.
worse.
You admit someone can groom multiple people and then say it's just gross negligence? And need I say how the other people he had drawn in the Snow White dress had access to his NSFW Twitter were also minors. Also yes, you heard that right, Doodle was clearly aware there wasn't just one person Horace drew in the Snow White dresses, but we will get onto that in its own section. I would also like to point out a pattern in behaviour here I will touch on throughout this part of the video, and that is by focusing in on the Snow White dress being the smoking gun of the source of George's grooming, helps to reduce the narrative overall.
That's what I was thinking, because she's not talking about any of the other shit that's inherently harmful to the child and does show the fact that this kid was in fact groomed by George. She's just like, well, the Snow White dress, right? Let's talk about that for like 50 fucking minutes, guys. Like, fuck off.
Which shows how George is predatory.
Even
and
that
what I mean by
argument isn't
this
strong
is the use of the V Omega
on her
situation
end.
as a point of comparison to this less blatant example of grooming is used to make the audience feel like, by comparison, what George did was forgivable or less severe. I know Doodletones comes from the SEC where power ranking is rampant in videos, but power ranking grooming is insane.
Now, let's look at the spin-off to this allegation. George bought his own Snow White dress to wear, posted pictures on his NSFW-ish Twitter, and allegedly gave Leo some pictures.
But guys, remember, the Snow White dresses, the Snow White dress, it's not safe for work, it's not kinky at all, but he's gonna dress up. This grown-ass man is gonna wear a fucking Snow White dress and post it on his not safe for work Twitter account. If it's not sexual, why not just post it on your main? Things to think about.
Pictures of his own whilst pestering Leo to wear one themselves. I really don't know what more to say.
Also, if it's not a kink or a fetish, why would you be so adamant about getting this child to dress up as your favorite Disney princess character for so long? You get scolded for it, you come back and ask again, you draw the character in the dress, regardless of whether or not the minor consented to that, which they didn't, spoiler alert. And it's just, oh my god, it's just so fucking dumb.
Hey, this is just more of the same, unfortunately. Leo goes around pitting Snow White as one of George's kinks, which has been put into question. Leo makes
Oh, okay, I remembered what I was gonna say. Do you not think it's weird for a man to try and pressure for this child to dress up in something that he's very, very interested in? A grown-ass man talking to a 14-year-old. What if it's a grown-ass man who's sexually attracted to Sailor Moon outfits, and they pester a child to dress up like that? It's the same thing, is it not? Let's say I'm sexually attracted to tuxedos, and I find a little boy. This is a hypothetical. I am not a pedophile. But let's say I get turned on by people dressing up in tuxedos, and so I go to this 14-year-old, and I'm like, hey, you should convince your parents to buy you a tuxedo for Halloween. I've got faith in you. Which is what George did to the minor in regards to buying a Snow White dress for Halloween and wearing it and sending him photos. Do you not see how weird that is? Please, I need to goon. Please put on the dress. Like, fuck off.
makes a very extreme statement claiming that George was sending him pictures of himself wearing that outfit directly, making the claim. The number of photos I got from him wearing the dress was almost 10 times the amount that he posted on his timeline. It very much
The number of photos I got from him wearing the dress was almost 10 times the amount he posted on his timeline. It very much became a weekly thing for him to do. He would send me 5 or more pictures of him in the dress or ask me for compliments, my overall thoughts, and if he looked cute/pretty. Ew.
became a weekly thing for him to do. He would send me 5 or more pictures of him in the dress and ask me for
Once he even broke down and...
compliments, my overall thoughts, and if he looked cute/pretty. This is then followed by 0 screenshots of George doing this and being probably...
What did he do? Are you gonna show us the fucking screenshot? It's talking about George breaking down about something. What did he break down about? Did he break down about the kid not putting on the dress, or are you just not gonna get into that? Omitting important details here. Like, dude.
Probably the most frustrating example at the lack of screenshots being an issue with this document. Like, I can concede to the idea that maybe Leo wasn't able to get everything. Fine.
I mean, Gilded, you're asking this about the bitch who wants to dress up in diapers and shit herself. Are you really that surprised that she doesn't find any of this weird? Like I said, I would not be surprised if this bitch gets outed as a fucking pedophile in the future.
Like, I'm not even saying that if Leo doesn't have every receipt in the world that these allegations should be put under extreme scrutiny. And I can accept the lack of evidence to a degree. But Leo is making such an enormous claim here, alluding to George explicitly targeting them, and
Also, even with the claims, whether or not it has evidence or not, George themselves admitted to you that there's no justifying this. There's no defending this. He is guilty. He is guilty. Why did you sit for 2 fucking years thinking, yeah, I gotta defend him. I gotta defend him till the day I die. Like, dude. If somebody being accused of being a groomer comes to you and says, yeah, I did it, there's no justification for anything, maybe you should, I don't know, read, listen to what the fuck they said, and then cut them off. I don't know, that's just me though.
if there were that many instances of George doing this, why don't we even see one of them? You were able to get a screen cap between you and George talking about a dress, again with the problem of you visually not setting any boundaries for George to push, but I think
This bitch! You show evidence of him asking about the dress, which could in and of itself back up the claim that this kid was fucking making. Just because they don't have the pictures doesn't mean shit when you have evidence of them talking about it. Also, your little snarky, also another instance of the child in question not setting boundaries with the adult and just letting them do whatever. Actually, go fuck yourself. You're disgusting.
Enough. But with the evidence showing George sending direct pics of him wearing the Snow White dress, it doesn't exist. Why?
Because as you had previously noted, Doodle, Leo wasn't able to grab everything they thought necessary, and yet you choose to harp on this instead of the stuff we do actually see, which is evident enough.
Also, my question is, you know how SUZY went immediately to George after this document dropped? Did they ever make any attempt to reach out to the victim in this situation? Like, at all? They asked George for their side of the story, but did you ever confront the victim and be like, hey, so these allegations are pretty concerning. However, the lack of evidence on some also concerns me. Do you have any evidence of that or anything? Like any screenshots to back it up? Did she ever reach out at all? Did she ever, check in on them? Interesting. Ask them for their side of the story, one-on-one in more detail. I wonder who she cares more about here, the pedophile or the victim? Let's think about that.
In the screenshot, harp on this, Doodle. Leo wasn't able to grab everything they thought necessary, and yet you choose to harp on this instead of the stuff we do actually see, which is evident enough as seen in the screenshots. You are again expecting a victim to know everything to save when being put through this.
This is one of your biggest allegations and easily one of your most damning ones to boot. Ugh. Anyway, following this, we then get the dysphoria.
What the fuck was that? Ugh. Do you have to say it that way for the voice changer to, pick it up or something? What is that? You can just say, ugh. Not ugh. Dude.
Conversation, Leo being an NB trans mask, and this one's a bit more of a gray
This one's a little bit confusing.
area. I'm not going to put into question whether dresses do or don't give Leo dysphoria. That is not my place to say.
Also, like I said earlier, the idea of anybody going up to a trans individual, somebody who is, he, they, or he, him, whatever, right? And being like, hey, you should put on this dress. You should put on this dress. I really want your parents to buy this dress for me. Very weird. Very weird. Very weird.
I'm also not entirely too sure whether George did or didn't know whether Leo gets this way about dresses in particular. If George did know, then fuck, that's tone deaf as hell.
Gwen seemed to know.
Another one of George's actual transgressions. Get it? If he didn't, then I can't really get onto his case about it, especially since Leo doesn't show his discomfort in the screenshots, and
yes, I can't blame the adult because the minor didn't establish the fact that this was making them uncomfortable, despite the adult being fully in the wrong anyways for even engaging with a minor in these types of conversations or establishing a close bond to them. Or showing them their not safe for work account, or talking about their magic trick kinks with them. Once again, I'm wondering if she's ever going to talk about all the other damning stuff in the document, or the stuff that the document stated about George.
Either way, this would be he said, she said effectively. Still not grooming, mind you, but also not particularly great.
Bitch!
George been guilty of knowingly setting off Leo's dysphoria. The continual excuse of, but George would beat himself up, also doesn't exactly help.
Once again, it would have been cool if you had asked the victim instead of talking to the fucking pedophile about this. If you want more evidence, or you want a more, I don't know, complete narrative on what actually happened, maybe talk to the victim. Maybe talk to the victim. Maybe talk to the victim. Also, maybe talk to the victim and ask them for examples of George breaking down whenever this kid said no. Like, come on. And you know, I was scared. I was terrified of him having a meltdown, of him beating himself up. I knew I wouldn't be able to handle it if he did. So I said that I could try finding the dresses, and it made him very pleased. Sounds to me as if anytime the child said no, he would get mental about it. I ponder, I wonder.
Help matters either, because I get it, but those boundaries not being set doesn't give me any reason to believe George's intentions with these conversations are more malicious than two friends bonding over a common interest.
What about the magic trick kink that he shared to them?
I don't want to seem dismissive about these claims, because I can't know how Leo actually felt about these conversations.
You could have fucking asked. You went to George, but not Leo. Fuck off.
For all I know, he could have been uncomfortable, and also, I get how important...
He literally fucking said that he was uncomfortable in the document, but he went with it because he didn't want to upset this person. The adult. The child did not want to trigger the adult into having a mental fucking breakdown. How is that so complicated for you to understand? Is it because your fucking sona's ginger? Is the ginger of retardation getting to your fucking brain? Oh, I don't know, maybe it's the fucking time diapers that are making you mentally regress from the age of 20 fucking whatever to the age of 6. Like, dude, you cannot be this dumb.
It is to believe a victim of abuse. Plus, yeah, not every victim of abuse will...
Also, the victim was 14 when they met this adult, and they were 16. What was it? From 14 till 16, George did this to them. Something like that, right?
know they're being abused.
And yet you spent this entire video downplaying the victim's experience and saying how they didn't voice their discomfort, so George couldn't have known what he did was bad. Newsflash, Doodle, it is the adult's responsibility to know.
He was also told by Gwen! Fuck!
Not to talk to a child about their kink. Hell, you even showed how you got backlash from your 2019 stream and how you victim blamed Leo. From my understanding, having spoken to people behind the scenes, this video is just a neutered down version of your 2019 stream. But the points you make here are still victim blaming and trying to get the heat off Horace by painting him as this lobotomy patient of a person with no thoughts in his head. Aside from when he's slapped on the wrist, he cries like a sniveling pussy.
But it's hard to see George as an abuser when zero boundaries were initially drawn.
Redhead, I'm making a joke about how Doodletones' character has red hair, and so the ginger is getting to their brain and making them fucking stupid. Okay, that's the joke. That's the joke.
And instead, Leo willingly partook in these conversations, leading into what we are to believe to be George's desires. Leo's words paint one picture.
Okay, so you're acknowledging that we believe these to be George's desires. However, the issue presents itself given that the child didn't establish a boundary with the adult. Okay, what if I talk to a kid about BDSM or, I don't know, DDLG maybe? Talk to them about that. But because the minor never states a boundary, it's technically the minor's fault because they didn't speak up. Fuck you.
Sure, whereas what we can
I'm parroting myself and I realize that, but I don't care. I want to drive that point home as much as I can.
Screenshots paints a totally contradictory one, and we're just supposed to believe these images are one of the same. We're not done, by the way. We still have the claim of magic tricks to talk about, and out the gate, I'm screaming. One of the first things you'll notice when going on his NSFW is his pinned tweet that you are encouraged to read before interacting with his page. It was there that he detailed the things that he found sexually appealing, aka his kinks and a few rules of the account. I'm sorry? So, Leo is willing to detail what was in that pin.
Yeah, let me see. Hello and welcome to my Not Safe for Work account. If you follow this account, then you have my trust. Oh, wow. You have the trust of a 16-year-old when you're like 20-something. How lovely. Okay, so you're establishing to this kid that, hey, I trust you, okay? I'm gonna let you have access to the account where I talk about things that I jerk off to. How lovely is that? You're special. All right, and we have, let me see. I talk about things I don't normally talk about or share in any other circumstance. As such, here are some ground rules. Porn and nudity will not be retweeted here since I have no reaction to that. He's not attracted to sex. He's not attracted to like typical sexual things. Wow, got that out of the way. 2, bunny suits are a fetish of mine and it pleases me a lot. Okay, so we've established that he jerks off to bunny suits. 3, magic tricks and illusions, oddly enough, are a kink of mine, especially when it's a girl disappearing under a cloth. Keep that in mind for the future, okay? So that's a kink. Snow White drawings are plentiful here. Although it is not a kink of mine, I just like doing them. And yet he didn't fight back when he was slapped on the wrist by Gwen for trying to get this minor to fucking wear the dress or whatever. Oh my god, my brain is fucking leaking. Number 5, do not leak anything on here unless I say it's okay. Refer to me to Kumiko, whatever.
Tweet. He even goes on to explicitly mention the Delcota chair trick, George's favorite magic trick as outlined by his rules bulletin, but will conveniently leave out the section of Snow White magic trick as outlined.
Notice how it's not just the chair trick in specific that gets him off. He said magic tricks and illusions, oddly enough, are a kink of mine, especially when it's a girl disappearing under a cloth. He's highlighting one thing that he likes the most out of his group of magic trick kinks or fetish or whatever the hell he has, okay? Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind.
Outlined by his rules bulletin, but will conveniently leave out the section of Snow White when talking about that. I want to make it clear that I'm not out here trying to pin Leo as this bad person, but covering this document...
That's what you've been fucking doing this entire time. Oh my god. Oh my god. What is it with people who cover fucking kids or people in general? And they're the most bad faith with the people they're covering. But then in the middle of their video, they're like, hey, I'm not trying to be bad faith or anything. I'm not trying to say that this person is bad or like malicious or anything. However, it seems like a lot of this was pretty biased and they're painting a false narrative that seems a little bit malicious and manipulative. But that's just my theory. I'm not saying that they're a bad person or anything. Like, fuck off. You're actually so dumb.
Document makes it really hard when stuff like this is scattered throughout the entire thing. It gets very blatant. But yeah, so George did have a thing for magic tricks, specifically the Delcota chair, and yes, he even...
Yeah, okay, are you not gonna address the fact that he shared that fetish with this person?
described it as a kink. So we are getting into some arguably creepy territory, and hey, credit where it's due. Leo talks...
Arguably creepy. I don't think there's anything to argue about the fact that it's definitely not okay. It's not legal or appropriate for an adult to be sharing something that turns them on with a minor. Wow. But I guess that's arguably creepy. Like, I think it could be creepy, but I don't know. You could argue that it's creepy, but I don't know. Go fuck yourself.
About how George sent some videos involving something he finds to be his kink, and then actually shows us George doing so. However, and this is where...
Sorry, I'm adjusting my earbuds. Fuck.
I must remind you all that I'm not an expert and am merely giving my 2 cents on the matter. Grooming is usually done with the goal of sexual or financial satisfaction, and regardless...
Oh, I know what she's gonna do. She's gonna be like, well, it's arguably creepy that this adult shared their fetish with a minor. But, you know, grooming has to be intentional. They have to get sexual satisfaction from the things they talk about with that minor. This motherfucker is so dumb. She's so fucking dumb. She's so fucking dumb. You know what? I'm gonna shut up. Let's just let this play out, okay? I'm just gonna let it play.
Of how creepy it may seem within the DMs, and you can definitely make an argument for it or against it being creepy. At the end of the day, I'm not going to fight a person one way or another about it. However, with the screenshots that we see in Leo's document, as much as they exist and show us that George did send these videos, the screenshots seem more conversational than sexual or malicious.
Excuse me? Well, you see, he's talking about his kink with a minor. But it doesn't seem that sexual to me. It seems more conversational, like, you know, normal friends would. Like a normal Tuesday. You're like, hey, how's the weather? Dude.
The first one shows George sharing the Delcota chair trick performed by David Copperfield before presumably...
Have fun, Pooh. This is so dumb.
By the way, cross-dressing in the way George was doing so is also not proof of George doing it to be sexual. Just should get that out of the way. If he finds the dress to be more aesthetically appealing, then it's just...
If it's not sexual, why does he only post it? Whatever.
George not having an issue with cross-dressing. If you want to make an argument otherwise, you're going to have to provide me with some proof that he does find Snow White dresses to be sexual, because I just don't have any reason to believe otherwise besides
Talk to Gwen!
Because Leo and
Talk to Gwen!
said...
This is another thing, actually. She should have reached out to everyone involved. You get the groomer side, you get the victim side, and you get the side of the adult who slapped the groomer on the wrist, who knows that this has happened with other kids. Maybe they have proof. They probably do. Dude, the document literally said, hey, ask this Twitter account. They have more details. They were there to witness this and all the previous instances of George talking about his fetishes and exposing his fetishes to minors. Come on, man.
So.
Yes, an informing pedophile. Fuck off, Doodle. I know I had made this point previously and said how Doodle left out the part of the magic trick in that part of the video, but yen, she's talking about it here, so what gives? It is intrinsically linking the Snow White dress and Horace's known kink, and I think Doodletones knows this, thus trying to separate it in this.
Also, remember the fact that, he said that, what was it? What did he do? Okay, I remember, right? George sent this child magic tricks, like videos of magic tricks, while he was wearing the Snow White dress. He was sending his kink/fetish content to a child while wearing the dress and making sure that that kid knows that he's wearing the dress. Interesting. I wonder if he's jerking off in the dress. I think I gotta think about that.
Video because, and I'm gonna be blunt, people in these spaces can seemingly use the same piece of evidence to invalidate an overarching pattern of behavior, and so Doodle wanted to paint it as Horace simply cross-dressing, and I hate to be political for a second, but I think this was on purpose, given Doodle's audience being LGBTQ+, and anyone who would question this argument would be labelled as a transphobe, which is morally
I mean, I can see the argument. But I can see the other argument against that as well. I don't know. Makes sense, but we don't know for sure.
disgusting in my opinion. To finalize this particular point, I will break it down. The kink is magic
Also, yes, Opal, Raven is trolling. He's my friend. He's fucking evil, unfortunately.
tricks. Horace is wearing the Snow White dress when looking at his kink, something that arouses him, and then shares all this information with a minor he wants also to dress up as Snow White and take an interest in his magic trick kink.
Yeah, let's both, like, jerk off in Snow White dresses and watch magic tricks together. It's purely platonic and conversational. Like, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off.
This is blatant grooming, Doodle. Doodletones would make a defense on their perception of kinks in one of the SCC courthouse calls where this video was first challenged.
SUZY, you spent time in fetish groups because you were fascinated by the concept. How did you not know better?
So she spent time in fetish groups because she was fascinated by the concept. Yeah, that's just cope. She just wanted to jerk off.
Admittedly, George's kink is quite weird, and I didn't think it was very, because it's not, like, if he didn't
You just admit that this is a kink, fuck off.
call it
Come
a
on.
kink, it would be entirely harmless. And as I've talked to you about in the past, Leo, I have a very weird perspective on fetishes, on fetishes and kinks in general.
Obviously, you have a weird perspective. You like wearing diapers. You are not the person who should have handled this situation. Well, obviously not. You're defending a fucking pedophile. I don't think anybody else would have done that aside from you, Diapertones. But, like, come on, dude. This is just sad.
I don't think they
Also, yes, I'm watching the full thing.
Be sexual. We've
Listen,
had this
I get-
conversation
oh, go ahead.
before.
We have, but he's made it pretty clear it was.
By its very definition, and I will use an actual definition here, unlike Doodle, who's used ChatGPT before when making a definition argument, a kink is something sexual and outright stated by
You couldn't even Google it yet to use ChatGPT. Like I said, she has to be stunted to some sort of capacity. What the fuck?
George as a kink, but then
I know I could Google this and find out the definition on my own, but I'm actually gonna put in the extra effort to ask a fucking AI bot what the definition is. Like, come on, dude, Google's right there. It's right there.
Let's talk for a second on SUZY's take on kinks. In 2015, when Doodletones was 18 years old, they posted this character sheet on DeviantArt. Important things to note.
Ooh.
Was 18 years
this.
old, they posted this character sheet.
Common misconceptions about Mika.
First off, let me start by saying, I love seeing how people draw Mika-tan, mainly because she's a character that's very different from any of my other characters. In comparison to most of my other characters, Mika's incredibly complex and difficult to write into stories as a main character. Hell, it's hard for even me to write her into roleplays. Haha. So, here are some misconceptions about Mika, and maybe some fun facts to splash in there.
Okay, hold on. I gotta breathe. Name, Mika June. Age 6. Height, 2 feet 5 inches. Weight, 45 pounds. Race, humanish. Sex, female. Gender, see trivia. Sexuality, bisexual. Misconceptions. Mika doesn't have boobies. She's physically 6 and will always be physically 6, so boobies are only a dream. Haha. While Mika's usually timid and antisocial, it is possible to talk to her. You just need to kind of force her into conversation. Likewise, it is possible to befriend Mika. If your OC's goal is to befriend everyone in a group, I won't lie, Mika will not make it very easy. But it will be possible. I won't say how though. Haha, winky face. Mika, despite the look in her eyes, is actually rarely inky. The eyes, like the majority of my other characters, are a stylistic choice, so you can have her eyes however you want. Her eye color would be brown. Mika often has 2 hairs sticking up at all times. Admittedly, this is something I often forget. Trivia! Mika has 2 brains, one very feminine one, and one masculine one. This is the result of her curse, and both her brains are 18 years old, so try to wrap your head around that one. Mika's curse in a nutshell is just inconvenience. It is just an inconvenience and embarrass her at all times. This forced Mika to be a bedwetter that, on occasion, may leak into daytime issues. Mika has taken both ballet and cheerleading. One before her curse, she'll never tell. Mika was designed as a fetish roleplay character, but after creating her, I just couldn't leave her as a fetish character, so I added story to her and removed a lot of her original character. Mika actually has a gap in her front teeth. It's kind of pointless to mention this, though. She rarely smiles, and if it doesn't really add a lisp to her speech, okay. Okay.
On DeviantArt. Important things to note here is the character in question was aged at 6 years old, and specifically marked as a character for a fetish RP. Noting that her brain is 18 years old? What? So no, Doodle, from everything you have shown online, including your own experience with kinks such as DDLG, diaper fetish, age regression, and full-on pedophilic characters for you to fulfill your sexual degeneracy on, you have failed to list one instance where a kink isn't sexual, and every instance you have tried to state otherwise is to simply try and cover yourself from some heat from your detractors. No wonder you have no issue with what George has been doing given your own degeneracy.
The second screenshot was just George talking about how he did draw Leo's character doing the trick, but never actually showed it to.
Actually, I kind of do want to mention a drawing I did a good while back. Alright, so the one I did but never completed was a step-by-step drawing of your OC vanishing from the decolleté chair. It had him covered up with a cloth, and the final part is an empty chair. Chat, remember when I said you need to keep in mind that one of his best kinks, the kink that he loves the most, is a magic trick where someone disappears under a cloth. Now, SUZY Doodletones, our Lord and Savior, all right? She looks at that, and she looks at this screenshot, and she's like, nah, nothing to see here. This is perfectly fine. It's just irresponsible at best. It's not grooming, though. I don't think it's inherently sexual. Like, fuck off. It's creepy at best.
Leo, nor did Leo really call George out on being uncomfortable about it.
Horace has now finalized my previous point where he has now placed Leo in his sexual desires by drawing him in the magic trick. This is Horace's own admission. Just because he didn't show it doesn't make it any less valuable as a piece of proof.
prefaced by Leo continuing the narrative of just because George feels guilty about things means you can't draw boundaries, apparently.
Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy it? I watched them at first in order to not be rude, but sometimes I just didn't feel like it, and so I didn't. But then he would message me hours later asking, did you watch the video? And he would ask repeatedly, did you like it? And if I didn't answer, he'd find another excuse to contact me, like sending me more dress pictures or other Snow White related stuff, and throw in a quick, did you watch the video? It wasn't just him showing me a cool video. If I didn't see it, he would bring it up again and again afterwards. My thoughts were pretty simple. It was cool, I liked it, and so on, but it made him very happy regardless. The act of sending those videos to me, having me watch them, and saying yes, I liked it, made him very pleased. But he's not a groomer, guys. He's not a groomer. He's just asking this 14-year-old if he liked the video of his kink, and if they enjoyed it, so he can fucking jerk off and be like, oh, fuck this child. Oh, I want to kill with them watching this magic trick. Like, fuck off.
As evidenced by the following statements. I did watch them all, but only because I felt pressured to.
Also, you can find my full character sheet on my Twitter. It's @CattoGoat on Twitter. I posted some pieces recently. Anyways, back into this.
Maybe it would have been easy for you to say no, but I can't do that. I can't shut someone down like that, especially not someone like George, who practically lives by the philosophy of don't call me out of my bullshit, because I will beat myself up until you feel like a monster and drop the charges.
I can't believe this needs saying, but it is not the responsibility of a child to draw a boundary with an adult. That responsibility entirely—
No, you don't get it. The superior ginger, Yen, Doodletones, says that it is. And she's the SCC god, okay? And what God says is law. So, she's right. You can't argue about this, okay?
entirely is on the adult in the situation, every single time. If we are saying that every single time that a child gets groomed and they don't draw up boundaries or fight the grooming that is taking place, that somehow means that it's not grooming, apparently.
Okay, so like, let's bring up another example, right? A real life one. What if you're in a scenario in which you're being raped, but you don't fight back? Instead, you freeze up. You don't show that you're uncomfortable or anything. You just sit there. Well, I mean, you never said no. I mean, what were you wearing, dude? Like, come on. I mean, oh my God.
He had done this multiple times. Looking back on it now, I can only really describe—
I am revoking Doodletones' ginger status.
No, she can stay within your nation, okay? I feel like you and Doodle would get along great, Red. You guys should be friends. I'm just kidding. Love you, Red. I don't hate you. I just like fucking with you sometimes. Love you.
Describe it as him forcing his kink on me. We'll talk about his motivations another time, but that is what he is doing. Which only really reaffirms that this was a document that had more of a narrative woven into it, more than just informing people of what happened.
This may sound like a lesser point given the communities that we're all in, but I'll build on it later. However, Doodle saying there's a narrative woven into the document is a subtle and incorrect use of the word narrative. Everything—
I know there's been a lot of talk behind the scenes, right? But Ponder Sprocket had a comment on this video when it was initially posted. I don't have the screenshot of it, but it was along the lines of her being like, oh, it's almost as if people throwing the accusations, you know, don't have a basis or aren't people who should be spreading allegations against other people, blah, blah, blah. Basically, positive reception to this fucking video. Just crazy. And a lot of people are like, according to her, well, she said she didn't watch the full thing. Bullshit. 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 How do you even look at this situation or know about it in general, and you don't think that anybody was victimized? I don't know. Just pondering my orb, I guess. Just doesn't make sense to me as to how Ponder would be fine with that.
Everything we say is a narrative when it comes from our own personal experience of how events transpire, including this document. And some of you may have realized at this point, Doodle is trying to do the thing she's claiming the document does and twist the narrative.
Oh, this child is twisting the narrative. Meanwhile, I'm gonna twist this narrative against the child and blame them for not speaking up when they were uncomfortable. And despite acknowledging the fact that yes, magic tricks are a kink, and he shared that with this child, well, the child didn't say no, so it's just creepy at best. Like, fuck off.
Narrative of the situation. From my own looking at the document, there is nothing but factual information pertaining to.
Oh yeah, rotting brain. Okay. All right, I'm going to say this since it pertains to me and also because I think it's important. Ponder's pattern, I guess. I don't know, I can't speak much on this, right? But I find it odd how Ponder's kind of been glossing over grooming situations and stuff like that. I actually rewatched on a stream Ponder's 2019 Sashley video that had 1.2 million views on it before it was taken down, in which she boosted allegations about Sashley and shit like that had to do with her sex life. She boosted that and showed screenshots of minor sexting for 1.2 million people to see. Am I back? Oopsies. Okay. I'm back. I hope I'm back. Hello? Hello? Am I here? Dude, this is like fucked up. Hello? Hello? Okay, I'm here. Anyways, Ponder Sprocket glossed over the evidence that I had presented of a 17-year-old being sexual with a 12-year-old and saying that, oh, nothing sexual actually happened between them. It was just a few jokes and stuff like that, like friends do. Despite the fact that the 17-year-old was talking about how he loses his boundaries when he's horny around said 12-year-old. And, what is it? How he was telling the 12-year-old in question not to leak anything because last time he was turned on and said shit when he was turned on, said 12-year-old almost leaked it to a group chat. But according to Ponder, despite, claiming that, you have to read evidence, you have to look at all the evidence and provide proper evidence to back up grooming claims, she didn't fucking read any of it. She didn't read it. And then she blasted the fact that I, at 15, was drawing porn to prove a hypocrisy point. So she blasted my fucking porn that I drew, furry porn, when I was 15 years old for 1.2 million people to see. Also blasted the fact that I had a Discord server that had not safe for work fan art channels for me, and not safe for work channels in general, on said fucking server. And also regarding the J-Leet shit, she also contributed to people saying that I victim blamed Sashley, when in reality, despite the fact that multiple people wrote that script, right? There were multiple people working on it. Despite the miswording, we were not trying to victim blame Sashley or anything. We were trying to be like, hey, so Sashley's involved in something illegal regarding, like, the whole argument of her cheating on her boyfriend Noodles. She is actually being groomed, essentially, by the 17-year-old when she was 12 or some shit like that. Like, fucking hell, fuck. What I was trying to say was that she was involved in something illegal. She was involved in grooming. I did not say that she was at fault for that. I was trying to point out that one of the cheating scenarios in particular was illegal and bad. And I tried to shit on fucking J-Leet for it too. But Ponder listened to what I said and was like, are you victim blaming Sashley right now? Bro. Also, I am not muted. I'm not muted. Fuck you. Anyways, back into the video. I'll talk about that later, maybe. I don't know. Apparently, I'm supposed to have, like, a talk with Ponder sometime soon, so we'll see
even
how that
stuff
goes.
Doodletones are verified, like his consistent outbursts. And even when screenshots are used in a document and Leo explains the context behind them below, it isn't malicious. It isn't twisting anything we don't see or is confirmed. Hell, we don't see the Skype messages, and yet Doodle doesn't question the fact George had been told to not draw Leo in the Snow White dress. It is simply using verbiage and is it actually though?
Oh, also on the topic of the Sashley drama, I want to make this clear, right? Because I didn't even fucking remember myself until I found the screenshots. At least a week or two before Ponder posted her video, I had already apologized to Sashley, where Ponder Sprocket was present, mind you, in the group chat. I had expressed remorse and regret for what had happened, and I was following their advice. They told me to release my apology video after Ponder Sprocket made her video public. Okay? So I had already apologized, and the situation, while the allegations hadn't yet been debunked, it was interpersonally resolved. At least a week or two before the 1.2 million fucking Sashley Drama 2019 video came out. I had apologized and stated something publicly before that video came out too on a community post. And yet people were like, oh, you're not sorry, you're just sorry that you got caught, blah, 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 blah. And then after her video came out and I tried to talk further about what happened behind the scenes and shit like that, people told me to shut up, stop pushing the blame, stop being guilt-trippy and manipulative. And it's been like that for years. Oh, GoatCatto's always pushing the blame on somebody else. No, it's almost like, oh, I don't know. There's context as to how situations happened, and most of the time, the situations I do find myself getting into, unfortunately, involved other people. There are some that haven't, but the ones that have, I've been very vocal about. But, oh no, you're an evil 15-year-old. We're gonna harass you for 6 years straight. And you know what was crazy too? Alright, I'm gonna be honest. I have bipolar, okay? I was in the mental hospital for a week before the Sashley Drama shit blew up. I had posted the video, and I went to a mental hospital for a week for an eating disorder. I finally remember that. You see, I thought it was because I got myself or something, but no, it was an eating disorder. I came out, and there were like, what, at least 2 or 3 videos. There was Streamline's video, Nani's video, Spoctor's video actually came out a little bit after I got out of the hospital. He actually DM'd me and shit like that. Or whatever. But it was just fucking insane getting out of the mental hospital and then having, what, 4 or 5 rapid fucking fan bases going after me, telling me to kill myself, comparing me to fucking Hitler, telling me to go back to the mental hospital and that I was evil and malicious and all this shit when I was like 15 years old. They went against Ponder's own preachings of, sometimes children will lash out when the spotlight is on them. Everybody involved in this is a child who is not understanding of anything that they're talking about. You should treat them as such. Well, thank you for treating me as such by telling me to kill myself. I didn't even have parental support at the time either. I went to my mom. She didn't give a shit. She never gave a fuck. You know what? Honestly, I might do my own stream talking about the Ponder Sprocket situation or whatever the fuck later, because I have a lot to say and I'm not happy about it. So, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Back to the subject.
Argumentation to twist and alter a narrative to suit Doodle's favour, given their own personal vested interest in having these allegations cleared from George, due to her long-standing relationship with him.
By now at this point, you might be wondering what my point is bringing all this stuff up, as it looks like I'm trying to make Leo out to be this worse individual than he is, and that would be a fair assumption to make, especially with just how frustrated I've been getting at this document. However, to clear the air, I'm not saying Leo is doing any of this stuff on purpose.
She didn't take it down. She didn't take it down on her own accord. I want you to remember that. 6 years. Also, fun fact. You know what? Whatever. I will yap about fucking Ponder still. In 2022? Yeah, 22, 23. Ponder actually looked at my 2022 Sashley Drama videos and noted the fact that I had grown and improved as a person. Did she ever make a statement or think about taking the original video down? No. No. She didn't. There was no statement, no comment, no nothing. None of that. And that was on a Twitch stream, mind you, so not a lot of people fucking saw that. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Fucking hell. Also, I don't... I'll speak on it another time. Never mind.
This feels more impulsive than vindictive. Reading the document as much as I have, you can tell he felt very emotional writing it. If this is truly how he felt on the matter, then fine. I'm not going to invalidate someone's feelings on the matter because
But you literally did. You invalidated the fact that this child was uncomfortable multiple times within your own fucking video. Well, they could have been uncomfortable, but they should have stated that. How can we believe that you're uncomfortable if you didn't say that? What the fuck are you talking about? Also, the fact that you sit here and claim that you've read the full document and yet you honestly lie, twist the fucking narrative to paint a story in which, oh, he's actually not that bad, and you don't even present all of the screenshot evidence against this guy, or context from the victim as to why certain things were said or weren't said, along with why they went along with it. Except, actually, on that last note, you did. You just fucking downplayed it. You just downplayed it, because it fits your narrative better. Oh, well, the child didn't establish boundaries, so...
I can't feasibly know how he actually felt.
Well, I'm so sorry a victim felt emotional, Doodle. I'm sorry that upsets you so much and somehow invalidates screenshots and their feelings.
My point, ultimately, at the end of the day, is that I don't feel as if George is a groomer. There's just not enough evidence to label him as such. Grooming is a targeted...
You just said that grooming was targeted, and it also had to do with sexual desire and satisfaction for the offender earlier in your own fucking video. And then when you're presented with evidence of him doing as such, you just go, oh, well, it's just creepy at best. It's just creepy at best.
manipulative action used to get something out of a minor. But nothing we see in the screenshots Leo shows demonstrates
You're
any
fucking
form of
stupid.
attempted sexual
You're so
or financial
stupid.
satisfaction on George's end.
Nothing shows attempted sexual satisfaction or gratification. Like I said, I'm not going to repeat myself.
I
This
must be fair
bitch.
and
Oh
reiterate
my
that
God.
yes, Leo could have been very uncomfortable by everything the two of them talked about. George could have been very
Could have been.
inappropriate, and yes, he was
Could have been.
absolutely
Could have been.
irresponsible.
Could have been. Could have been. George could have been inappropriate with this minor. Could have. Yeah, you could argue that it was creepy. You could argue that it was creepy, a little bit creepy, but he's not a groomer, and he could have been inappropriate. There is no could. He was.
Well, I'm not saying he did nothing wrong. I just don't see a groomer here. And I feel as if there were people who kinda saw it too quickly. When finally confronted, George ended the final conversation with Leo, admitting to his mistakes and fessing up to the fact that he didn't know these conversations with Leo made Leo uncomfortable. He asked what he could do to make things better besides not grooming, showing that the accusation was something he even...
I didn't. What is it? Things that felt to me like objectification, and others, not going to say who because that's not important, and said grooming, and I don't know. I didn't know about this. I'm sorry for that as well. I'll stop doing that. I already admitted I messed up big time. What can I do to make things better aside from not grooming you?
Oh, well, George is autistic and, he's my friend, so maybe he didn't understand that, this wasn't actually grooming.
Like, fuck off.
even believed. And personally, this is my least favorite part of Leo's document. George was apologizing.
It's the least part of... Oh my God. It's the least part... Oh my God. Oh my God. This wasn't a part of the document that you liked because it's your friend admitting to the fact that he groomed somebody. Of course you're not gonna fucking like it. It doesn't fit your narrative.
For everything that Leo had taken issue with. Sure, George's apology was self-destructive. As I said, he did have a habit of doing that. However, George also, at the end of the day, understood that the two of them needed time apart. Why was this looked at as a groomer trying to get with a child? Like, George couldn't have known that these conversations were uncomfortable or were seen.
Hey, child that I groomed. What can I do to make our bond better aside from not grooming you again? I still want to keep talking with you even though I victimized you. Interesting. Interesting line of logic we have here.
Seen as inappropriate until Leo told him, because, as stated before, there were no boundaries drawn between the two of them.
I think you're forgetting that Horace was a public figure and had a lot to lose if this ever became public. He most definitely separated from Leo in order to get heat off of him and make himself look like a responsible person. He had been caught and the only thing he could do now was run away.
Once there finally were, George apologized and then the two of them unfollowed each other's vents, breaking off the friendship with each other. This is just not the behavior of a manipulative person. Leo's confusion in this document too is honest to God justified because George saying that he didn't know what he was doing was wrong and apologizing.
He was already told. Fuck you mean he didn't know? Gwen slapped him on the wrist and was like, hey, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. He knew. Oh my fucking God.
For grooming are two totally contradictory ideas. Because grooming is intentional. Like, yes, you could say George is admitting to grooming here and is apologizing for such. But like, I don't believe that George would have seen it as such had Leo not initially brought it up in their conversation. Neither of them were even sure that this was the case. It was just something that someone else...
Oh my God. Wow. it's almost like a groomer probably isn't going to see themselves as a groomer because they don't want to see themselves in that light. And it's almost like the victim, the person who was groomed and already has enough confusing emotions about the situation as is, doesn't know what to think of it or label it. Wow, isn't that shocking? Oh my god, it's so hard to fucking understand that concept. Wow.
Said was grooming.
I want to point out that Gwen, also known as Saf, is a victim of George. Also in this instance, the morals of the person making the document can sure be brought into question. However, it does not push away the actual evidence and invalidate the evidence put forward.
Ugh. At the end of the day, to recap, do I think George groomed Leo? No.
Then you're a moron.
Do I think George was irresponsible? Absolutely. Do I think this document does its job properly? No. Do I think Leo should have drawn boundaries with George sooner? Yes. Do I think Leo is a bad person? No. Do I
No. I mean, by my own definition of grooming, and despite the actual concrete evidence of that taking place here, I don't think he's a groomer and I don't think he's a bad person. In fact, I think he's a pretty chill guy. You should let him babysit your kids, especially on Halloween. Don't go in there with like a black light though once he's done. You don't want to see what happens. Like, fuck off.
believe Leo was a victim? Well, personally speaking, yes. That last one might be a bit of a confusing statement to make, what with everything I outlined today, but if you'll allow me, I have been thinking about this document a lot, and as I said earlier, I don't believe Leo wrote this document with the goal to purposely ruin George's friendships or reputation in the community. The language used within this document seems more concerned and scared than anything else, almost as if somebody else implanted the belief that this behavior was grooming. And
it's fucking... Oh, come on! Dude, we just went over as to why the victim would be confused and why the wording is off. Come on, dude. Come on.
we know that there is, considering Gwen's reaction to George drawing people in Snow White.
Yeah, Gwen's reaction. I was contacted by one of my good friends, Gwen, minutes later, and she warned me to not let him do this. She forbid George from drawing me in the dress and told him to back off immediately. What I didn't know is that the dresses were a form of kink for him, and I had no reason to doubt Gwen when she said this because she was one of my closest friends at the time, and she wouldn't cut in like this unless it had to do with my safety.
White dresses.
The narrative that the idea of grooming was
Also, hi, Gamma.
implanted is foul. You are doing the opposite end of the spectrum in this video by claiming something isn't grooming when everything so far would prove otherwise. It is not the minor's responsibility to draw boundaries with an adult. You are literally putting it on Leo to do that, Doodle. The rest of this video is Doodle speculating on if Charlie or Gwen, people in the document, was manipulated.
Remember, kids, if you're being groomed or molested, just say no. Works like a charm. Works like a fucking charm. Just speak up. Just speak up. They can't rape you if you say no. What?
Manipulating Leo into thinking they were being groomed, which has absolutely no basis, and given its speculation, I won't be including it. However, it has recently this year been learnt that Gwen, also known as Saf, was a victim of George, and Doodle's complete disregard or willingness to speak to them at the time of this video being made meant that they were ostracized and not even considered as someone who would be a victim. This is even evident in the comments section of the video, where when Saf tried to explain further, they were met with dismissing remarks from people.
I wasn't going to comment and touch on the video, but I am mentioned directly, so I at least want to give my 2 cents on this part of the video to at least clear the air in this regard. Yes, absolutely, I did speak to Leo about the situation when it was occurring. I've spoken publicly before the situation occurred that George had done similar stuff in the vein he did to Leo, to me, back when I was 16, as well to my partner at the time. I had noticed it and told Leo that this was not okay for him to be doing if he got some sort of arousal from it, no more, no less. Now, to speak on the Charlie segment of the video, I will definitely say that Charlie, whether or not they had good intentions in their own mind, definitely made the situation a lot more hostile and heated than it needed to be. All of us can admit that they did have some serious bad habit of snapping at people, and yes, absolutely, had a bad history of doing it towards George specifically. This is especially bad with the information that later did come out about Charlie, so it does indicate a sense of twisted motivation from their perspective. And just to speak about the boundaries slightly, that whole thing with George asking Leo to wear dresses and send him pictures should have been a no-brainer not to do, since Leo does identify as trans-masc and has made it clear on his Vent account that George followed at the time that stuff like that triggered heavy dysphoria. So that was absolutely immature and uncaring on George's part. Was I mad that Okay, oh my god, my brain is fucking melting. I can't read. Was I mad about what George was doing? Absolutely. Did I have some kind of ulterior motive? No. Did Charlie? Can't say for sure. But again, to go back to the example you brought up and generally knowing how they usually had some sort of end game in mind, probably. Obviously, I can't speak for them since I refuse to ever speak to them again, but that's just my 2 cents. That's about all I've got to say. Not going to comment on the rest of the video because at the end of the day, it's not really my place to speak on someone else's trauma. I'm not here to change minds because at the end of the day, in that regard, I can't really do that, especially with how long the situation has been public. Just wanted to say my piece about my side and perspective from the situation.
People in the SEC in the replies, as seen here, allowing for the SEC's try.
Let's go, girls. Come on. I'm going out tonight. I'm feeling all right. Oh, Sue Livy? Why do I recognize like 2 people here. Sue Livy, Thorn of Roses. Bro, Zepti 2 is already a disaster. Giving it a DLC from the likes of you makes my stomach turn.
Tribalism to continue and pushing them into the arms of Vivian, also known as Charlie, who would also later be outed as a groomer and abuser. But all in all, somehow, this video got good reception by the community and those around it.
Yeah, no, Dreamer, I swear to God, Sue Livy has been talked about before. Were they ever mentioned in regards to mocking somebody trying to come out with their side about knowing about George's tendencies with the fetish content and exposing kids to that? Sue Livy, defending Predator. Interesting headline. Anyways.
But to move forward with the effect of this video, we have to go back to the backlash that SUZY got in 2019 from their stream, and how in the 2 years between 2019 and 2021, they went around the community warming people up to the idea of Horace not being a bad person in preparation for their 2021 video. For proof of this,
I know Ace and crew know more about that. Okay, I will try to remember that, and I'm gonna ask around, because I'm interested. I wonder if anybody else caught up on that, on the name.
We can look at Doodletones' own DMs with Horace at that time.
I know you didn't intend it, but this image gives me bad memories.
Yeah, sorry about that. If it's any consolation, I fought against what I could at the time. And it's not like everyone hates you. The Cloud Palace just kinda hopes you've been doing okay since then.
Really?
Yeah, I was talking to them about it a few days ago. One person in there in particular would really like to meet you, actually.
Who?
Mansvega Ventanov.
Oh.
Fairly new commentator, I don't know if you've heard of him.
I saw them once in a comment on one of my videos. They said it was fine for me to like Snow White in a comment.
Oh, well yeah, he doesn't seem to have any qualms with that situation. Again, I personally thought from what I saw at worst, you were—
Yeah, Fretting, I think I remember that too. You started like mocking him or something like that.
seriously irresponsible with the not safe for work account.
Okay, let me read this myself, okay. Fairly new commentator, I don't know if you've heard of them, if someone wants to comment, blah blah blah. Oh yeah, blah 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 blah. He doesn't seem to have any qualms with that situation. Again, I personally thought from what I saw at worst, you were seriously irresponsible with a not safe for work account. I definitely was. I shouldn't have given it to Leo, Gwen, or Autumn. Okay, so that backs it up right there. It's why I'm keeping in contact. Irresponsibility is a different monster from grooming. And hey, if you just started getting help from all of this, it might be a blessing in disguise. Also, I would like to fact that grooming in and of itself in nature is irresponsible. So, especially with the evidence that was provided against George, you cannot say that he was just, simply a little bit grossly negligent or irresponsible and a little creepy at best. But I've already harped on about that point enough. I'm going to start crashing out if I talk about it anymore.
Definitely was. I shouldn't have given it to Leo, Gwen, or Autumn.
It's why I'm keeping in contact. Irresponsibility is a different monster from grooming. And hey, if you started getting help from all of this, it might be a blessing in disguise.
As I have just shown, there are several mentions of SUZY trying to get people in the Cloud Palace, Doodletones' Discord server.
Do you know how fucking weird it would be if you brought your friend who's conveniently a convicted pedophile who touched a 4-year-old at the age of, 27 or something like that, to Thanksgiving or to Christmas or something, and you sit them down at the table eating with everybody, and you're like, hey, you know, I know my friend touched a kid, but he's actually he's a pretty chill dude. Once you talk to him, he's not all that bad. In fact, I think more people need to know who he is and talk to him you know, set up a nice little support system, a nice loving community for this pedophile. I think this is a great idea. I think everybody should do this. Like, fuck off.
To change
So
their
dumb.
mind on the situation around George, even leading up to the video's release. And as you have seen in what I've just shown you, there were other people groomed by Horace alongside Leo, those being both Autumn and Saf, those being the ones that were known at the time, but as you will see in SUZY.
You know, he had 3 other victims that I knew about, but I thought I'd reintroduce him to the community. He's pretty chill. Hey, I might invite him to the barbecue on Saturday. Just don't bring your kids, of course. It's a bit of a touchy subject for him. Haha, pun intended.
SUZY's video, there is no instance where these people were named as being victim of Horace, despite SUZY knowing about this in 2020. For context, Autumn and Saf were 16 to 17 in 2016 to 2017, which is when Horace drew them both doing the magic trick that's part of Horace's kink, and drew them both in the Snow White dress. Thankfully, we now have access to those Discord DM conversations between those parties. As we can see currently on screen, we can see the DMs that Saf had between them.
Oh boy. More showing fucking magic tricks, which you get off to children. I finished the thing. Squiggly. It's so cute. Did you see the video I linked to you? You and Autumn would be doing that. Sylvan transposition of 2 girls and 2 puppy. Okay. Crystal box illusion. Keep in mind, for those of you who are new to this, the reason why he's being called a groomer for this is because on his Not Safe for Work Twitter account, he stated that magic tricks turn him on, normal sexual content and nudity do not. So this gets the blood pumping for him, which is the issue with him being a full-grown adult sending this to like fucking 14 through 17-year-olds. I think I digress.
And George, showing George posting the magic trick and drawing them in a Snow White dress. As we can see in Saf's messages, we can clearly see evidence of George drawing the pair, Saf and Autumn, in George's magic trick kink. More specifically the Dakota chair trick. This is also reflected with Autumn's messages with the same pattern of behavior.
Autumn, did you see what I posted on my Not Safe for Work vent? I haven't. Yeah, lovely. Snow White dress. Blushing. Lovely. I finished it. Question. How much did you love the thing I did? 8 hours with no response. He has to ask again. Fucking hell.
Behavior, even asking have they seen what they posted in their NSFW vent. I would also like to bring up that SUZY had access to and used Horace's document as research when doing their video, which also does state within it that Horace drew the minors in the magic trick within the very own document.
So I've...
No. You see, because the document from Horace or George doesn't count because, you know, it wouldn't fit the narrative that he's not really a bad guy, despite him admitting himself that he did show minors this sexual gratifying content and, you know, admitted to grooming them. He's not that bad, though. Trust me.
made this a few months after my situation happened, and I've mostly kept it to myself.
Not gonna lie, being the primary person who was defending you when that was happening and has been defending your innocence in regards to the grooming allegations themselves, reading this first is definitely a new insight. I will ask, though, if you don't mind, while I know not everything on there was explicitly sexual, why did you let minors on your Not Safe for Work account?
Because I thought they might like the magic videos I've sent them, along with the potential Snow White drawings. Are you having second thoughts about me?
No, because while I don't think you were a groomer...
Are you having second thoughts about me? You know how they talked about how if you disagreed with George, he would start to break down? I think that could have happened right here if she had said yes. Did SUZY feel forced to say that she didn't have a problem with them? Like, fuck off.
Groomer. I have been saying you were kind of irresponsible for doing that, but that said, irresponsibility doesn't equal grooming.
Yeah.
So unless there's more to this document that implicates you being more than irresponsible, my opinion probably won't change.
So you only got as far as chapter 1.
Yeah, I'm just now reaching C2.
Also, I I need to ask that you don't post it around anywhere.
Alright, you were irresponsible at worst, and Leo's document comes off as super manipulative. These were things I did say in October.
This may sound like I'm drilling a point home, but I really want to emphasize the fact that SUZY had a lot more information than what they actually included in their final video. Now that I brought up George's own document that he made in relation to this situation, I think it's important that we show what information SUZY didn't include within their own video, given the fact that they had access to this document way before anyone else had it in the SEC, even before it was made public. So without further ado, it's time for a brief detour into George's own document. This document that SUZY had access to, mind you, and read, does a lot in the way of breaking down a lot of the arguments that Doodle made in their video, to an insane degree, given this comes right from the raccoon's mouth. Brushing aside the random additional information of what countries George and Leo live in, George starts by explaining how, and I quote, "Whenever I shared magic tricks with people in a DM, I don't think, man, I want them to be a part of my kink, or man, I want them to have the same kink as me. I typically think to myself, hopefully they'll like this video when I send it to them." This is a flat out lie, as we have seen from Saf and Autumn's messages alongside Leo's Twitter interactions with George, where he places them all in his kink, which George would even admit to in a document he references in the start of this document with his messages with a member of the SEC named.
Keep in mind that Yin stated earlier that this guy did have shit to lose. He had a community. He had a stance in the community. He was like, oh, figure of power, whatever the fuck you want to call it. He was a creator, basically. And so, this is most likely a dishonest attempt to, you know, make the public at least not hate him as much. Because, well, listen guys, I know that I shared my fetish content with kids, but I didn't think that it was sexual. I didn't think about them participating in it or anything, or, you know, having the same kink as me, even though I drew pictures of them engaging in my kinks and stuff like that and talking about wanting them to do it and such. But I swear, guys, I'm not lying. Like, fuck off. It's so easy to see through this guy's bullshit.
Poor Kate, alongside this document itself, and I quote, "One drawing I drew of him that was really bad in hindsight was him vanishing in a chair." And I quote, "In hindsight, one of the only aspects I truly did wrong with the account was drawing 3 specific people vanishing in a trick, as that definitely did make me look really bad in hindsight. I'll focus on the one with Leo a little later, but for now, I'm going to focus on the other 2 that I drew vanishing, Gwen and Autumn. Back in 2016, I asked them if they wanted to follow it, and they said yes. At the time, they were dating each other, and so not only did I draw them in the dress, but I asked them if they wanted me to draw them in one of the tricks I showed them for their Dakota chair. They eventually said yes, but I had no idea that they felt grossed out. They didn't give me any indication about how they truly felt at that moment. Regardless,
I mean, if a kid's not responding to you, or somebody in general isn't responding to you, and hasn't for like 8 hours, and they're online, and you know, you keep asking them, hey, did you like it? Did you like it? Did you like it? That's probably a big indicator that they don't want to talk to you about this shit, and they're probably not comfortable. But you keep pressing and being like, hey, did you like it? Did you like it? Did you like it? Even when they try to change the subject. How do you not pick up on that? Is it the autism or is it something else? Oh, actually, I think it's because he wants to disrespect their boundaries, so they engage in a kink that he wants to get off to. Because he's horny. And he doesn't care about other people, he just cares about what he likes.
It's one of the drawings I don't look back at fondly in general. This ideology of George putting the onus on the victims to show discomfort mirrors the one Doodle uses in their own video, which leads me to think this ideology is something both of them shared and enabled and was weaponized in this document and the video. The following is Twitter post by Saf sharing their experience. Mind you, it doesn't show proof, but again, Doodle never asked George for any of his messages with either Saf or Autumn, reinforcing my belief that Doodle made sure to turn an intentional blind eye to this evidence. A lot of this remaining chapter of the document is George blaming his victims for not showing discomfort, but I will highlight how he states he would have still continued to.
I wonder. I want to see Doodletones full DM logs with this person, because I wonder where he got the narrative of, oh, well, they didn't tell me that they were uncomfortable, so it's kind of their fault. I wonder who he got that from. I wonder who told him that. I wonder who the little fucking mosquito in his ear was. Interesting.
Send them the magic trick kink if they didn't show discomfort. And I quote, "Had Gwen or Autumn not given a negative type of reaction to me, then I would have continued sending them videos and drawings, all while they continued to harbour these extremely judgmental and assumption-heavy thoughts about me." End quote. I'm sorry, but how much of a self-victimizing pussy can you be to continue this idea? Keep in mind, Doodle had no issues with this part of the document. In chapter 2 of the doc, George explains how and why he invited Leo to his NSFW account, bringing up how Saf told him not to draw Leo in the Snow White dress in 2017, but I will point out there is no mention or reasoning stated that he forgot that conversation, which Doodle uses as an argument in their video. But George's amazing explanation in why he added conversations in 2017 by...
Let me see. Okay. That was when Gwen went to tell me that I shouldn't be doing it because in her mind it would make me look like a pedophile if I went with it, and she did it out of concern for me. I didn't take it very well at that moment, and I beat myself up. Apologized to Leo about it, all while talking about how I should stop doing that in general because one person told me not to do it. Life went on like normal after that, even when feeling guilty for thinking about it. If I were more sensible, I would have told Gwen that the character wasn't a kink at that moment, but to me, I didn't want to argue. I just gave in and didn't do anything. But then you get onto your victims for not expressing discomfort or the fact that they didn't want to do it. Rules for thee, not rules for me, not for thee.
Leo to his NSFW account, bringing up how Saf told him not to draw Leo in the Snow White dress in 2017, but I will point out there is no mention or reasoning stated that he forgot that conversation, which Doodle uses as an argument in their video. But George's amazing explanation in why he added them to the account was because Leo's account was suspended, and the new one showed that they really like Snow White still, despite George. And because George posted the character a lot on his NSFW account, he invited them there. First off, that makes no sense. Just have a regular account to post those drawings if we use the logic George didn't have a kink for Snow White. But the fact he seemed to post it the most on his NSFW account reinforces my belief it is a kink. And even then, it doesn't explain why he invited Saf or Autumn for remaining chapters. Chapter 3 is a lot of the same, saying how Leo didn't show discomfort, so I'll be skipping over it. I'll be linking the document down below for you guys to check it out for yourself. Chapters 4, 5, and 6 contains people cutting off George slowly before the document came out, being people like Saf, Ray, Donnie, and Leo no longer wanting to follow his NSFW account, and then the community response when the document Leo made was published, and George beating himself up over it. Not really anything worthy of focusing on, but after George locked his accounts, Hawkate decided to post their DM messages with George in a document I had referenced previously. A thing I will note here is that George in this section does state he never fully read Leo's document.
I wonder who else didn't fully read the document. Now, if I can talk about Leo's document itself, I've only read some of it. Why only some and not all of it, you may ask? Well, let me ask you a question. Would you feel comfortable reading an entire Google Doc talking about how you're absolute scum or child groomer? I wouldn't think so. But what I have read and how I have brought up throughout this document in the previous chapters. Okay. If you have ultimately false grooming allegations presented to you, and you have people who don't like you and are willing to run with that narrative without fully looking into it. I'm not saying this is the case for George, this is a hypothetical scenario. Then realistically speaking, would you not want to make a response to the allegations in question that are ultimately false, look at them point by point and debunk all of them, so that there's no wiggle room for any of your detractors to try and twist or spin a narrative about you being, a predator? I understand that you would be upset, right? But at the same time, it's like, dude, are you fucking dumb?
Claiming the reason for it was that he didn't feel comfortable reading a document that labeled him as scum and a child groomer. But if you're planning to make a document to clear your name of such claims, surely you need to read the damn document accusing you of such things. Otherwise, how are you meant to dispute all the claims pushed forward against you? More dismissing the victims, again.
I don't even know why I put in my own commentary. I'll speak on something and then Yin just says it right after me. We're twinning right now.
And again. Oh, and using how you have high functioning autism to not read someone's emotion? How
Yeah, I had a feeling that autism was going to have something to do with this somehow.
lovely. You don't need to read emotion to know the fundamental fact you shouldn't talk to a minor like this. Chapter 7, Document's conclusion. A lot of this conclusion is George crying how betrayed he felt by people he thought he could trust, and ending it off by saying he no longer views Leo as a good person, and the accusations against him were a smear campaign, and then proceeds to list the bullying tactics those people used. And I am sorry, but I can't help but laugh at this here. This is the list of bullying tactics that George lists in his document.
Smear campaign, false accusations, blacklisting, gaslighting, gossip, humiliation, isolation, personal attacks, psychological abuse, social exclusion, setting up to fail, cyberbullying, mobbing. I mean, deserved, honestly. I think these are all fucking deserved.
Document. I will be going through them one by one. Smear campaign. People talking about their experiences. False accusations. Documented evidence. Blacklisting. Not wanting a groomer in their circles. Gaslighting. Proof. Gossip. Talking about the accusations. Humiliation. Laughing at disgusting child groomer. Isolation. Again, kicking them out of their circles. Personal attacks. Making fun of a disgusting person. Psychological abuse. I think it's just the SEC mind control at this point. Social exclusion.
Nah, it's people
Kicked
telling
out.
them to kill
Setting
themselves,
up to
I bet.
fail? No, you did that when you started talking to minors about your kinks. Cyberbullying. Log off. Mobbing. How? And that was the very long and painful George document. My thought on it is the same I have felt up until this point, and that is how pathetic and self-aware I think George is. They continue to cry victim when they were the one grooming minors online, spending a lot of this document saying that what he did was bad, but ending it with, boo-hoo, look how harassed I was. And back to the DMs we go. Returning back to the DMs from where we last led off, we can see that SUZY describes Leo's document as manipulative, which is insane, and really goes to show their ideology when they were making their video.
Oh, by the way, I did happen to find a comment he left you in your confession videos where he says you're victim blaming by defending me.
Well, I did say it was sort of Leo's fault initially, which
Victim or not, how do you look what? Victim or not, how do you look at the allegations and the evidence presented and say, yeah, it's the kid's fault? I did initially say that it was pretty much their fault entirely, but I realize that's not a good look on me. You only care. You don't actually... This is just... Yeah, whatever. She just wanted to save fucking public eye.
victim or no, it doesn't look good on me at all, so that was a mistake on my part.
Ah, it's definitely more accurate to say that we both screwed up in different ways. At least that's how I see it.
I do agree, but saying it like I did wasn't tactful.
As I have just shown you, we can see another reference to SUZY's 2019 stream, and how Doodle saying her victim blaming made her look bad. Ah yes, because your precious public image is the main issue here, and Doodle goes on to agree that it was partly Leo's fault. You are quite literally still blaming the victim.
Look, when Leo sits there and says something along the lines of Snow White dresses are his kink and he will deny it, so don't believe him, effectively shutting out any further discussion, yeah, no, I was not on his side. I definitely shouldn't have blamed him for when we had less info. However, I have still stuck to my guns. I was manipulative, and I didn't see any evidence of you grooming.
You were manipulative?
Oh no, sorry.
Calling the child who got groomed a manipulator is crazy. Fucking crazy.
XD, it was manipulative. Typo.
And also, I don't think this was a typo given all we know now, more so a Freudian slip. The following screenshots is more proof of SUZY trying to warm people back up to the idea of George being let back into the community in preparation for their 2021 video.
It really pissed me off given how he twisted the entire narrative in his favor. You victimized the person. Why would they twist it in your favor? The fuck? Image attachment. I'm cool with talking to Donnie again. So I talked with Porkate about the... Porkate? What the fuck are these names, dude? Porkate. About that situation, and he seems to be down to talk with you again if you're up for it. Yeah, so you're manipulating people into thinking that he's not as bad as he actually is. That's crazy.
In these DMs, there's also reference to them talking to people in the Cloud Palace in order to warm them back up to the idea of George coming back, and overall hints at a manipulative pattern of behavior that SUZY is trying to do in order to get George back into these spaces, and also in turn in the same spaces as his victims. Which we now know through hindsight was very effective after SUZY released their George video, letting George come back into the SEC spaces and causing his own victims to apologize to him. Congratulations, Doodletones, you effectively defended a predator, letting them back into your spaces and communities where other people could be affected by them, and had his own victims apologize to them and thinking they were in the wrong for being groomed. Something we all know that if you had learned that someone else had done this, you would have beaten them to death in a screaming match. And yes, you...
Yeah, imagine if Jar did this. Or Rosa. I don't remember if SUZY was really active in that conversation. I don't remember either, realistically speaking here. But if it was anybody else doing any of this shit, and if anybody else defended that predator doing that stuff, they would be outcast from the community. But because it's SUZY Doodletones, our Lord and Savior, she can do no wrong. She was victimized by Mr. Medicare because he made fun of her diaper fetish. Boo hoo 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 hoo. And she got harassed by fans for years. Wah, wah, wah. If it was anybody else, they would not be as charitable. Kitty gloves. Kitty gloves. Handling everybody with fucking kitty gloves because, oh, she's my friend and she was a victim at one point. Like, come on.
You heard that right. Both Saf and Autumn felt obligated to apologize to George, as seen here. Now, after speaking with both Autumn and Saf, I do have their statements here, and I will be playing them in order.
I'm just gonna kind of go off the cuff here and see where that goes. This lasted about 2-ish years, not even that. Like, it was maybe like a year, and it was by far way shorter than most experiences I've had online when it came to adults trying to take advantage of me. But I think it's still important to note this story anyway. So I joined the commentary community when I was freshly 16 in June of 2016. I met George through a Skype group that a person known as Ray Kohai had and it had like maybe 50 people in there. It was a very large group of people, and very active because of that. And I met George, and who we will now know as Amity, through there. I would start getting acquainted with everybody, and I would join the commentary group known as Fox afterwards. And that's kind of where my friendship with George started, and as well I would start dating Amity later on, a couple months later. We started doing a lot of things together as a couple afterwards. We also had private Twitter accounts for like almost everybody in that group, and we would all follow each other on there instead of, well, honestly on top of the Discord chats that we'd have later on where we had vent channels, but primarily we would have a lot of people follow each other's vent accounts back in the day. I was following George's private account because he had one that was just for venting, and I would also follow Amity's, obviously. And eventually we were both invited to another account George had that was explicitly called his NSFW Twitter account. This was a account where he would post a lot of his fetishes and his more so kind of like more private vent. It was a place where people that he trusted more would be. And Amity and I were
I'm gonna go grab a fucking drink,
and we were still allowed on. I didn't think too much about it at the time. I thought it was fine. I should also note that there was also a pinned tweet on that account that explicitly said two particular things on there. One of them was a note of a certain magic trick that he liked that turned him on sexually, and the other was how he just liked drawing people in the Snow White dress. And on top of that, apparently was not gonna retweet like explicit porn or nudity on that account. So Amity and I were approached by George at the same time if he could draw us depicted in one of the magic trick scenarios that he had a sexual interest in, and both of us being 16 to 17.
No, but you see, it's their fault because they didn't speak up, right? It's their fault because they didn't speak up or say no or anything, despite the fact that he was coming on to them, drawing them in his fetish art and stuff like that. It's their fault.
At the time, we didn't really know why he was asking this, but we let him do it, and he sent us both the image of us in a depiction of the magic trick. It was the one where he had both of us sitting in separately across from each other, and we had a dog in our lap. It was one of those, I think it was one of those vanishing tricks or something, or Dakota chair one. I don't know if that's what he said when I looked back on the logs, but I remember seeing and being asked if I could be drawn in that depiction. He also drew me and Amity in the Snow White dresses. That was another thing that he was very, very insistent on. He was very insistent on comments as well, and tried to preen on our thoughts on the images he drew. He was very insistent, and if he didn't respond, he would get very upset and guilt trip me. Overall, he was just very guilt trippy if you didn't respond to him at all in any shape or form. But these were like, he was very upset if you didn't respond right away, or he would kind of beat himself up if you didn't respond in a way he liked. This was also just outside of the fetish stuff that he sent us. He also would send, again, the videos that he was talking about, and then also he sent me in particular characters that he knew I liked in the Snow White dress to try and get me to like the idea of the thing more.
Yeah, common grooming tactic. If the chid, oh my god, I actually can't fucking speak. I'm gonna kill myself. Why I see chat. Anyways, if the child's not wanting to engage with your kink, do something that will entice the child to be more willing to engage with it. I'd recognize that tactic anywhere. You know, child doesn't want to, you know, do the do. Oh, offer him fucking candy. Hi, Nick Andros. What's up? But yeah, pretty retarded.
Or he didn't send me any more of the magic trick stuff again, but he was very explicit on the Snow White stuff. He even would send me stuff in recent years with characters that I liked in the Snow White dress that was in 2024. But afterwards, I haven't gotten anything since George sent the Snow White dress pictures to me. That I believe then afterwards, that was when Amity and I pushed back, and we didn't really like talking to him. We had some spats at some point. I don't remember what we were arguing about, but considering how he got upset at me and Amity over us wanting to draw a picture of his character dabbing and getting so mad he would rage quit the call. I imagine it was probably over something ridiculously stupid like that. I would not put that past him. And so later on, he would go on to try to do the same thing to Leo.
My question is, how did he reach adulthood without killing himself? If he gets mad over shit like that, realistically speaking. I don't know how he's still alive, honestly.
In
Sounds like a
2019,
fucking pussy.
apparently was stopped in 2017 by Amity. I don't have a recollection of that personally. That's something I cannot vouch for 100%, but I can believe it. But I do remember the stuff with Leo in 2019, and we, all three of us, had collectively agreed to make a document, or at least have Leo make a document about it, because we thought that the only evidence we had was only on Twitter. And at that point, I believe I had deactivated that Twitter account, or Amity had deactivated that Twitter account, her own Twitter account. I'm not sure what happened there, but I think we just stuck with Leo at the time, because we were both adults by the time we were going to call George out. So we stuck with Leo, and he had Vivian post his document in his stead, and I don't remember SUZY, like Doodletones, posting a stream about it. I don't really remember that. I definitely do remember her defending George right off the bat, even beforehand. I don't recall why I remember her being against that, but I just remember her not agreeing with the allegations that George was a groomer. Cue to me in 2020, I called out Vivian for also being a groomer, because I also made tweets against Horace at the time, or George at the time, against him, and also like having my testimony saying that I was treated the same way when I was 16. And then cue to 2020, I've completely distanced myself from the commentary community, and I just I hadn't really bothered interacting with anybody from that community since. I find out about SUZY's video in 2021 shortly after she posted it alongside George's document, and I was pretty mad about that. I didn't like that video at all. I didn't comment on it because I saw the backlash that Amity got, and I saw the backlash that Rin got when he sent his comment to me, and I saw people were just dogging on both of them, and I felt like I was just not going to bother commenting because I was just going to get the same response regardless. I already had another person commenting, or like replying to a comment I made on a video that I didn't even know that they were even looking for me at all, and so they saw me and then they just dogged on me afterwards. It was on a completely different video, in a completely different situation, but basically the tides had completely turned by the time that video had released, and we were all painted as liars, and we falsely accused George of being a groomer. And at the time, I didn't realize how much that...
Keep in mind that Ponder Sprocket... Who was it? SUZY, Ponder Sprocket, and Doodletones all collectively did the same thing. Interesting.
Backlash just internalized to me, and you go up to like 2022. By this point, I already was aware another document had been made on Rei Kohai. It was a giant document, and I wanted to address a couple things from that document that mentioned me by name, and one of them was from George. George mentioned my name on there for the stuff about like a convention that we both went to and attended at the time, and also I just wanted to clarify a bit further on my story regarding George, and that was when I first denounced George being called a groomer, because I definitely did start doubting myself if I even was right about George being a groomer to begin with. So I denounced that, and I apologized, cue to another year later, around October. I rejoined the commentary community at this point, after reconnecting with everybody, including George, and I went out on my way to DM George. It was one of the first messages I sent to his new account, and I apologized, just directly apologized to him. I completely denounced calling him a groomer, and I said if there's anything I can do to make up for what I did, I would be happy to do that. And to me, part of that making up to him was defending him whenever those allegations came up, and was going to risk him being canceled again, basically. There was a call in February of 2024. It was in the Senate when that was still up and running, and we were going to call Michael Schomer. He was somebody who also did not treat me well as a child, and trauma dumped to me as well as many of my friends at the time. And I remembered there were some allegations that Schomer still believed in regarding George, and part of my reason of why I wanted to join that call was to highlight my experience with Schomer, but also to denounce George as a groomer. That was something that I absolutely wanted to get out of the way first, and make sure that Schomer did not say a word about George.
Yeah, it is pretty sad, Dreamer. Imagine being groomed, and then because of some ginger fuck who likes diapers, they broadcast to the world that, oh, this person's actually a malicious, manipulative liar, and the evidence presented doesn't prove George to be a groomer. They're lying. And then SUZY goes around from community to community trying to tell people that, hey, he's not really as bad, he's not really as bad, having people apologize to him. His own victims apologize to him for talking about what he put them through. That's fucking...
George, that I thought was false. I was told to believe was false. That's one of the biggest public instances of me defending George. I also had consoled him a lot whenever he started getting upset over how Vivian and Rachel treated him when they called him a groomer. I've consoled him multiple times. I've told him to his face that he's not a groomer multiple times. And there was another call in December of 2024, twice actually, 2 calls. One was when another person was brought up old messages from George that was kind of trauma dumpy towards a minor, and we brushed that off initially because it didn't seem substantiated enough, and also I was concerned at least, that the allegations were going to be brought up again when they, in my mind, had already been proven false, and I had denounced I ever wanted to call him that. I denounced calling him a groomer. And there was another call where we confronted the same person who came forward with those allegations, and we, or at least me and SUZY specifically, defended Taurus in that call. I know I was definitely not as actively speaking as SUZY, but I definitely was defending George at that point. And so everything's kind of quiet on that end regarding George for a while, up until, of course, until April of 2025, where Julie slightly mentions a conversation between herself and Avi Holtman, and Avi directly sourced the allegations against George and said that, oh, I'm not a pedophile because George is not a pedophile for doing the same thing I'm doing. And that prompted Julie to come back into the community for a second and ask about the allegations against George, and to see how bad, if it was actually a case of George being done dirty, and everything just kind of transpired from there.
So, George Raccoon. I met him when I was 15 years old, and he would have been 19, because there is a 4-year age gap between him and I. I met him in 2015.
Okay, so he was 19 years old in 2015? Okay. 21. So he would have been, I think, 21 or 22. At least 20 years old whenever the stuff with Leo took place. I think. Based on the dates provided with the screenshots, it said 2017 or 2018.
Mid-2015. And things would be normal for a while, like at most, like he was a little self-destructive at times. A little bit. But then comes 2016, so I know Autumn's in the chat. Hello, Autumn. For anyone out of the loop on that, Autumn and I used to date. And we had already had one person in our fucking ears who was a grown-ass adult talking about how we should move in with her. But then we have George. So George, he would like to do this thing where he would draw people in like a Snow White dress, which, like, whatever, fine, that's cool. It's a 5-year, he was born in 95, it's a 5-year difference? That's worse! That's worse! Autumn, fuck! So he was, okay, so I guess there's a 5-year age gap. He would draw people in Snow White dress.
So he was like 20, 21. Then he was probably 22, 23.
Because that was like his thing.
Leo?
I guess that was like a source of comfort for him, which, like, fine, whatever, that's fine. He was drawing children in the same dresses and calling them so adorable and pretty princesses. And that would be, 2 of those people would be Autumn and I, when we were 16. And he was, I guess, 21. But that's not like the bad part. It's still weird calling a bunch of children pretty princesses and adorable. Because, like, okay, because Ty's pointing it out, let me get this out of the way. The age gap is inherently not the issue. It is the fact that he was doing this with minors. Ty and I are 4 years apart, and we are in a perfectly happy, healthy relationship. So that wasn't the inherent issue. The issue comes in when we talk about a certain kink that George had. And this kink was magic tricks. And we get, as you can see, this is a drawing of Autumn and I in a magic trick. For record, this was on March 16th, 2017. I had just turned 17, 11 days.
Look at the way he drew them, all seductive like. Do they have like a subreddit for pedophiles' artwork and shit like that? I want to see into the mind of a pedophile through their artistic expression. I'm definitely seeing a lot of shit based off of this, but I don't know.
Days prior. He would then link us fucking magic trick videos, where this one is called Transposition of 2 Girls and 2 Puppy. And first of all, the girls are in lingerie, and we were, again, 16 and 17. Then we get art of Autumn in the Snow White dress. There's the whole pretty princesses thing, and you two are equally cute. No, you're so cute. You're so cute, Saf. You're so cute, Autumn. This says, by the way, I have another idea. What if you and Autumn did this trick, and you turn into a Dalmatian? I don't respond, because this is 2017. I was in high school, and also I was not online as much. And he's like, did you see the video I sent you? Oh my god, did you see it? There's like so many more.
It's really weird how they want the validation of these kids so desperately. How pathetic. Imagine being like 21 years old and you're like, I'm getting really anxious. My 16-year-old friend hasn't answered me about my fetish in a while. Hello? Are you there? Did you see the video that I sent you? Like, do you not have better shit to do with your life? Or do you just jerk off in your Snow White dress and draw fetish artwork and send it to kids? Like I said, I don't know how he didn't kill himself before he reached fucking adulthood.
I do plan on posting. At a later date. Again, reminder: Leo was 16. And so I caught onto this because obviously I had been groomed by George. I'm calling it what it is. It was grooming. And I caught that, and we had a whole discussion. And that's when me and a certain other person encouraged him to make a document. But it was meant to be private, but that other person then went on to convince Leo to make it public. So that happened. We made it public. George ran off the internet for a while, except for one person. He stayed in contact with one person, and that would be none other than infamous commentator / internet personality SUZY Doodletones, who was working with George behind the scenes, going off about how he was basically saying that George was spoctored, then later released a video basically saying that George had not groomed Leo, that I was someone spearheading a hate campaign towards George, and then, like, behind the scenes, like, again, I already mentioned this, there were people blaming me, saying that I inserted this idea that George groomed Leo into his head, which fucking, what? And the reason that this was being spewed was not out of a genuine, like, cause of interest / worry in Leo. It was because of who I was associated with at the time. I was associated with my fucking assaulter and my abuser, and that warranted blaming me for George, a pedophile, being outed from the community. So, good job, guys. Good fucking job. Good job. Good fucking job. My god, y'all are... Pat yourselves on the back, give yourselves a fucking cookie, and go fuck yourself. I'm sure... And the same goes for SUZY. Stay the fuck gone. Have fun knowing you put children in danger. Don't ever...
Thing is, she never talked about this, never brought it up, nobody ever questioned her on it. It's why I don't think we should be idolizing creators, especially in the fucking art community. Half of them, alright? Most creators are probably fucking weird. You can never tell who, but you probably shouldn't idolize them. Also, just because your favorite creator says something doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. That goes for me, that goes for any other fucking person in this sphere, or in normal commentary. You need to look into things yourself rather than just running with whatever your favorite content creator is saying and what their fan base runs around spreading. Like, come on. Well, SUZY Doodletones said it, so it must be true.
Claim that you care so much about the safety of children on the internet when this is the bullshit you do.
And you know what's funny? You know what's really funny? The art community in particular, right? They're all about, oh, listen to all victims, and we're here to support all victims and stuff like that, and we promote free thinking, and, you know, pedophile defenders are bad, and you should never, ever, ever victim blame someone. But as soon as it's somebody like SUZY, they're just like, morals? Thoughts that belong to me? Things that I claimed to be against in the past? Nah, I don't stand by that anymore because SUZY defended it. So it's fine, it's fine. Like, come on.
Now, I will be linking Saf's original video in the description if you wish to see the whole thing. However, in a final-ish caveat, under Doodletones' own words in their communication video, they shouldn't have even had any right to make this video, and I'll be showing that to you right now. In Doodletones' 2024 communication video, she makes a point to say how she compared herself to someone who doubted a victim of someone called RCV5, even referencing the George Raccoon situation.
That Habit's initial screenshots aren't the best pieces of evidence to confirm this, and even they themselves...
What are these fucking names? RSCV5?
I do at least want to give some benefit of doubt in favor of the victim. And at least to my knowledge, RCV has revealed any information that would otherwise counteract the allegations against them, so I am more willing to believe Habit in this regard, at least until further notice. Now, what I just did there was playing an actually neutral party. You'd look at the evidence given when the victim wishes to tell their story. You'd hear the victim first and parse through the information that they give. It's basic courtesy, and it's not disrespectful.
But you didn't do that for George's victim, okay? You reached out to George rather than the victim involved. But then you later on go to preach about how you should remain neutral and objective in a situation like this, and you should always reach out to the victim first. Okay.
To the person who felt victimized in their situation. However, Morgan didn't do that. Morgan instead immediately turned to the alleged groomer to hear their side of the story first.
Oh, wow. You know, that's interesting. No wonder she didn't talk about the situation years after it was done with. Fucking hell.
Because that's certainly a play that
also,
normal
shut up,
people
Red.
do when
I
they
know.
want information about someone's past
you have the
actions.
furry
Right,
username.
you have a particularly
Okay.
egregious situation on our hands, similarly to my initial knee-jerk response to the George Raccoon allegations in 2019. We did later confirm that Morgan didn't actually read any of Habit's document or screenshots at the beginning of December, so I don't think I'm merely saying this on the basis of not liking Morgan's actions or to make a point about how poorly Morgan handled the situation.
She makes this point to illustrate her reaction to the George allegations in 2019, and yet she would go on to make the same mistakes that she shows here.
At least if she published it to Twitter, she could have given herself the benefit of Twitter possibly burying the tweet. But this basically forced the contrarianism into a much more confined space and had everyone's attention who was online to see it at the time. Especially the very person she's casting doubt upon. Remember that Morgan definitely didn't go to habit with these doubts directly, so it's not like Morgan wanted the victim of the behaviors to hear her thoughts. She wasn't ready to tell off the victim what she truly thought of the evidence against their abuser, which, like, no, you don't have to do, obviously. I'm not saying to go around and interrogate every victim willy-nilly, but obviously Morgan wants us to be on her side. That's why she was afraid of posting on Twitter. Plus, I think it's to be said how much Morgan was making habits abuse all about Morgan. It's Morgan that's afraid to talk about the abuse. It's Morgan who is worried will dogpile her. It's Morgan whose opinion should matter the most as an impartial third party, or so she says.
It's not like SUZY was ready to tell the victim what she truly thought of the evidence against her abuser. Doodle wants us to be on her side. She was afraid to say anything publicly after 2019. It's Doodle who's afraid of getting dogpiled for defending George. It's Doodle's opinion that should matter as an impartial third party, also she claims she is trying to be in the George video, but Doodle simply does not apply her own standards to herself here. Sure, you could claim she had a change in mindset since 2024 and 2021, however, given how she viewed her own behavior about the George situation in 2019 as the bad way of handling it, by her specifying it there and does not denounce her way of handling it in 2021, it would be fair to assume that in 2024 she stands by what she said in the 2021 video. Now, there are two other people I would like to mention in this video, and that is both Donnie and Porke. Donnie was also a victim of Horace and was one of the people who gave pushback on SUZY's defending Horace originally until being suppressed, as SUZY had clearly made her bias known in the Cloud Palace and pushed her ideology onto people like Donnie for a long period of time. I will play my interview with them now. However, as a preface for this interview, given how Donnie and Porke didn't know that Horace was being a negative influence on them, the evidence of their interactions are hard to find, so this portion is mainly verbal testimony, but given how messages line up in the Cloud Palace, I'm more inclined to believe them. I will also note that my OBS recording messed up during this call, leading to myself being quite inaudible, meaning I had to, with both of their permission, cut together audio to have the audio make sense. Yes, I'm a bimbo, I know.
For a little bit of a disclaimer, I can't gather proof for like a good chunk of what I'm going to talk about because it would have happened either on Skype, which is long gone, my first Discord account that's deleted, and any Twitter account that is deleted. There are people who can vouch at least that like I did meet George when I was a minor. I was 16. It was late 2015 when I met him and we were friends. There were some, you know, inside jokes we had pretty fast, like most of which were harmless. There were some NSFW ones as far as I remember, and it's some of the same ones that he was pushed onto Autumn and stuff. He did privately talk to me about the Snow White dress, and he would draw it onto a lot of characters, and he claimed that it wasn't a fetish. From what I remember, he did like talk to me in detail about the Snow White dress, and I did follow his NSFW account when I was 17, because he made the account in 2016, and I definitely followed that, and I remember it, so I would have been 16, 17. I don't remember him directly sending me the magic trick thing, but I would have been aware of it through seeing that account. They talked about it on there as far as I remember, but the account wasn't archived. I do also remember him like constantly wanting my attention, like even like up until recent events when I...
Once again, like I said, it's pretty weird that this adult is so fucking desperate for teenagers and children's attention and validation. It's just like, whatever.
First came out as trans.
Oh.
I was 17, and he told me that for a while he had feelings for me, and he would have asked me out if I didn't transition.
Now keep in mind that at this time, George would have been 4 years older than Donnie.
And he would have been talking about things he was into and such to me when I was a minor. I didn't really understand it being a problem back then. Not help that I had been groomed by multiple other adults, and those situations, the two in mine in particular, were so bad that I didn't process like any other factors, I guess, or any other people that would have contributed. I do remember in a private call I had with him at some point, I think last year, he approached me about when he had a crush on me when I was a minor. He was like distressing about it, and he kind of made me justify it on the spot and didn't want me to talk about it to anyone else.
This is new to me.
Yeah, I didn't talk about it with anyone else. And I've been dating...
Oh, sorry.
I've been dating Dylan since early 2020. So in 2019, October 2019, was when the document Leo had made about his experience.
Yeah, Dreamer, pretty gross. Also, I wonder if SUZY had reached out to any of the victims involved, which to my knowledge, I think she knew about Autumn and the others. I don't know. Gwen definitely knew about the other cases. Like Leo's document said, contact Gwen on this Twitter account. They know about all the other situations. If Donnie had talked to SUZY and mentioned the whole thing about the transitioning, stuff like that, the whole I would have dated you if you hadn't transitioned, do you think SUZY would have swept for that as well? Or is it, oh, well, I don't think he understands what love is. Like, come on.
Experiences with George was being made. If I remember correctly, I wasn't the first person informed of it, but like I remember being angry when I found out about it, and I was one of the people that spread it back then. I was also dating Vivian at the time, who was not only one of my groomers, but someone who assaulted me later on. Just 2 months after that doc went public, actually, less than. Vivian is important to this because of SUZY alleging that Vivian had spearheaded the situation. When what she did was post the document, but she didn't write it. She claimed that she led the situation, or that she created the allegations, or put it in Leo's head that the allegations were real. She went by Charlie back then, and up until her death went by Vivian. The trauma with Vivian's kind of intertwined with George, because like the claim as well, because like George beforehand had made a document like about how Vivian was mistreating George, and Vivian did say some nasty things to George, I will admit, but I think part of that was partially how it was successful in convincing me to accept George back in my life. I think it had been early 2021. Am I correct, Dylan?
It was April of 2021, I'm pretty sure.
He said that he forgave me because I was hurt by Vivian. And he also showed the thread where I came out about Obsidious fan grooming me, who was he was a countdown YouTuber, one of the smaller ones, and he groomed me on Skype from when I was like, it was especially prominent when I was 15 to 16, but we met when I was 14. Because I had stated that his behavior was similar to Obsidious fan in my eyes. So I had been isolated and kept out by Rachel's group. She claimed that I was an abuser and that all I do is drag others down, and at one point
I hate to be rude, but there's like so many names involved with art commentary situations that I get lost rather easily, and I lose track of like who's who molested who went on to molest someone else because they got molested by who. Like, oh my god. There's so many names in every single situation that has to do with a predator, and it's honestly kind of depressing. Because obviously, you know, predators have multiple victims, but in this community, it seems like multiple creators like to sweep for shit like that. It's...
had her nickname for me be Leech. And Dylan had also been isolated by Rachel several months beforehand, and...
It was funny, that was in April 2020, 1 year before Doodletones contacted both of us about George.
April 2021. I was already around Doodle, and I basically was like on and off around her, and then I was more full-fledged friends with her after Rachel kicked me out of her group. We were essentially reflecting on all the other people that Rachel had kicked out or claimed was an abuser, and it turns out she was lying.
Yeah, at this point we do need a fucking codex.
Dylan and I both fell victim to that. To Rachel doing that to us. With us losing a lot of people at once, we would have like wanted.
It's weird
because
like I'm technically
more friends
not
Doodle,
technically. I'm in this community, but I'm still not up to date on a lot of the lore regarding old gen art comment.
It was me first that she convinced, and then I talked to Dylan about it. Essentially, I was used as a tool to get my partner to get in contact with George.
And that concludes the victim statements part of this video. So far, we've had SUZY welcoming a predator back into the community and silencing those affected due to George being a close friend of SUZY and him not wronging her personally. Now, this is where I would say the video ends. However, I would like to show a pattern of behavior from SUZY that I have been alluding to. And SUZY, in her George video, had pointed me to the perfect example where she compares what happened to George with V Omega, which is interesting to mention given the fact that we would learn that SUZY had no problem with people being friends with someone like V Omega due to a friendship with George Raccoon.
Yeah, no. Genuinely. Art commentary stuff is very complex. There's the victims, big old network of victims, big old network of creators, victims who sometimes go on to create their own victims, so you have to like understand those victims and then realize that the person who victimized them was also a victim of this fucking creator. It's just like, it's so messy. So many names, so many content creators, so many fans who end up becoming groomed, or just like children in general, not even just fans. It's just, ugh. Glup shitto groomed this shitto, and then that shitto went on to groom that person, and then this person was involved in covering up the grooming, and then this other person saw that it was happening but didn't say anything, and then chose to, you know, plead either insanity or ignorance regarding it. Like, come on. It's so annoying.
As seen in this message that was posted in the Cloud Palace server. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, aside from SUZY's own wording saying that V and George are the same in terms of being bad people, it directly ties to what had become known as the Cloak and Dagger situation, giving us another instance of SUZY's hypocritical and vested self-interest and survivability. A topic that I'll be doing a complete timeline of to save people a lot of time and day, but for a brief overview of what that situation entails, on the 30th of the 7th, 2023, Doodletones posted this message in the Cloud Palace, explaining how a member of the community called Vigil was friends with the predator V Omega, who had previously been outed from the community. In these messages, SUZY shows her conversation with Vigil, where they end up on somewhat amicable terms, which is quite out of pocket for SUZY, given the focus of their content being outs, predators, and the likes from their communities. A point to note in these messages is Vigil's confusion and why this is being brought up now of all times. A reasoning to this confusion could be explained by the aforementioned message SUZY put in the Cloud Palace, saying that she would have no issue with people being friends with V Omega. Other people of relevance who are aware of Vigil's friendship with V Omega include users Keyblade, Tippy, Dolsmic, Mavstation, and Neko Shadows, who are the main focus of—
What are these fucking names? I know I already said it, but it's just like, all these names, bro. It's like Keyblade, Tippy, whatever the fuck station, Neko Shadow. We have Neko Shadow, we have Neko Pond, we got Neko Koda. There's too many names. Sometimes they sound the same. It's just like, who are these fucking people? I've never heard of these people in my life. And each person has their own fucked up rabbit hole of controversy behind them. And a bunch of skeletons in their closet. This person was involved with that, and then because of that, this happened, and then they went on and they groomed someone, and then they bullied another grooming victim, and then somebody else also joined in and swept for that, and then a content creator decided to sweep for that, and then another content creator got into beef, and they excommunicated each other from their friend groups because, this, that, and that. It's just like, I thought that commentary was messy, but I fear that we're the fucking loony bin at this point. I mean, there's a reason why they just observe us. Like, we're exhibits. We're a fucking museum exhibit or some shit. Because most of the fucking drama in this community is genuine insanity. Oh my god. And I've seen a lot of insanity myself.
Of the Cloak and Dagger calls, a collection of calls titling, and I shit you not, 7 hours, where said people were lambasted for their knowledge of Vigil's friendship with V, and apparently hiding said information from those in the Cloud Palace and Doodletones herself. Now Yan, you may be asking, why is this even an issue if we know Doodletones had prior knowledge of Vigil's friendship with V even before it was posted about in the Cloud Palace? Well, that's where the current popular theory comes into play. Whereas Vigil's outing from the Cloud Palace may have only been kept to that circle, and that is an assumption, the knowledge of the V-Vigil friendship had not, and from his own recollection and mention of it in the calls of Cloak and Dagger, had made its way to Lio Convoy, which forced Doodle to change their plan of originally having a call with those names mentioned by herself, changing it as a first call, including Lio Convoy himself and Hita Mitsuri. The reasoning behind this change is of course speculation, and using information pieced together from the calls,
She's
but
trying
the
to
running
come
theory
back.
is this was all a massive
Well,
gay-op
they
to
are.
stop Lio from looking into the
I
Cloud
don't know.
Palace server, which is an entirely different can of worms I will not be getting into today. However, speaking of the Cloud Palace, let's see who else was aware of Vigil's friendship with V Omega and didn't have an issue with people being friends with V and was present for the Cloak and Dagger calls. Of course we have Doodletones herself already, and also her at the time partner Jace.
And also the calls. That's the other thing about, like, the art commentary sphere that I fucking hate. Why do we have, like, hundreds, if not thousands, of fucking recorded calls of Glup Shitto groomed this person, so now this person has to get on call and talk about it, and then, well, this person told this person to kill themselves, and this person trolled a little bit too hard, so now we have to hold them accountable, and, this person mocked something about this person, so we need to have accountability call number 47. Not 47, more like 557th at this point. And post it on YouTube in an archive. Like, dude, do you guys not know how to do, like, private calls and talk about things yourself? Why do you need a mediator? Are we not all adults here? And it's crazy, too, because, like, when I was a kid, I never saw people in the animation meme side of this sphere, even regarding art commentary itself, doing this. It was always the adults, and I always found that baffling. It's just like, how are you, like, 20-something, 30, 40-something years old, sitting in these calls, thinking that you're an internet tough guy, and that, oh, I gotta save the day, we gotta save the day, and have these two grown-ass adults who don't know how to communicate to each other join a fucking Discord server, voice chat, and hold hands and talk about our fifis. They can just do that in DMs. Why the fuck do you have to have other adults step in? This ain't kindergarten. But apparently, they want to act like it is. It's so fucking annoying. Now, if it's something genuinely important, sure. Like regarding a creator or something like that, sure, I can see the argument. But with these other people, it's just like, why are you just... What is it with the fucking Glup Shittos doing this stuff? It's so dumb.
As seen in this message between himself and Vigelcio in Cloud Palace. Keep in mind V Omega was ousted on June the 27th, 2020. The next person listed has less solid proof towards them knowing. However, it would be remiss for me not to bring it up here, and that is Hita Mitsuri, reacting to messages in relation to a conversation about Vigil on his now deleted Discord account, being friends with V Omega, and of course Jace is already there, but we already have confirmation of their knowledge of the friendship. Again, I'm aware this isn't as concrete as a point, but I'll leave you guys to come to your own opinions on how much good faith should be given here, given Heaton's past actions that have come to light. But I will point out the conversation this is pulled from is about Autumn, a victim of George, where they are being called a waste of sperm. Yes, these creatures know no shame. Moving right along, Avi Holtman is the account name Crouching Idiot, so what I said of Heaton also applies. There is also this message right above Suzy's hypocrite message as shown earlier in this video. With these factors in mind alone, I can say confidently that Suzy, though she kept around her in her close circle in the Cloud Palace, had absolutely no issue with letting predators they were on good terms with slip through the door without catching major flack. In my opinion, there are two options here. One, Suzy saw herself in Vidal's shoes as seen in her hypocrisy message, realizing deep down that even though she was defending George, she knew he was this awful person, and if George was such a bad person, what would that make her? But she didn't have it in her to cut him off or not try to help him come back. Or two, Suzy truly didn't have an issue.
Genuinely, what do they have to lose by cutting off a predatory friend? I've had friends that ended up being, you know, fucking freaks. had that happen recently. What did I do? I cut them off, outcasted them, blacklisted them from ever engaging in my community again. It's not hard. It's really not hard. Hey, I touched a 5-year-old. Just get rid of them. Why is it worth keeping it around? I don't understand why they want to keep people like this around. It's so dumb.
Issue with staying friends with predators or friends of predators wanting to let Vigil off easy. Keep in mind, those attacked in the Cloak and Dagger calls only knew about Vigil's friendship with V. SUZY was the one to let Vigil run off without any persecution, given how people in the ACC/SEC are all about public calls. But no, she still allowed Vigil to stay within the Cloud Palace server, letting him silently exit the community without a major confrontation. But after people SUZY knew would have an issue with this caught wind, she went on full duck and blame mode, shifting the target to the main group attacked in the Cloak and Dagger calls, and keeping that lens away from herself and her close friends. Both of these situations paint a picture of how the SEC was run for the longest time, full of tribalism and backdoor dealing, where those at the top could use and shift narratives onto people smaller than them, or escalate small claims into dramatized hate campaigns. For Doodletone herself, it truly shows how she put her and her friends first, even if said friends are awful, disgusting people, and how she used her platform and place as figurehead of the SEC to benefit herself first and foremost, and really puts into question her beliefs around grooming, and is more willing to side with said groomers if she likes them. I would like everyone who is watching this to give people like Saf, Autumn, Poor Kate, Donnie, Leo, and Joni some love, as the way this community has treated them is sickening. I would also like to thank all the people who helped me make this video, first being Hexcliff, the person who made this video's thumbnail, and also all of the people who have helped me in the SEC with research for this video. This will most likely not be my only video on people like Doodletones, and given how truly expansive Cloak and Dagger is, a complete summary video condensing it is in order. But with all that said, thank you very much for watching. This has been Yan, and I'm going to sleep. And please enjoy the outro.
Okay, that's the end of that. It's 11:13 p.m. I started this at like 8:30 or 9. Can't remember. Don't care. What did we learn? That Suzy's a fucking hypocritical moron who probably should have killed themselves when they were younger. Sorry to say it, but groomer defender, not a good person. I don't really care. They've caused more harm than they've done good. I have no sympathy. I have no remorse. Yeah, baffling situation. I think George and SUZY can burn in hell. Anyways, I'm gonna go to bed.